over the rest of the women, there was applauding. And then it turns into, it sounds like I hate black women. But you just applauded the black woman I was talking about. Sounds like somebody hates themselves. Why does it sound like I hate?
Yeah, because what do you mean attitude?
I don't. All right, watch that.
What, did I give attitude just now?
I don't know. I don't know what.
Did I give him attitude just now?
I think you did.
I didn't give any attitude.
A little bit.
Oh, I feel like you hate black women now.
Do you see why I said that?
What do you mean?
Do you see why I said that? What do you mean I have attitude? I'm even smiling with you. What's with the mimicking? What's with the? When did I ever do this? Like, let's calm ourselves down now, because I will show you the attitude that you're looking for. Because I ain't giving it to you yet. I'm on 20 right now.
Like, are you not listening to what you're saying? Just because my mom raised me and was
Latina woman is sexy.
When your wife is upset or when she's like angry, does she ever
have all the attitude
does she ever speak like, I don't know, she's Indian, so I'm assuming she might speak Gujarati. Does she speak Gujarati when she's mad at you?
She can do whatever she wants when she's mad at me. She's mad at me.
So it's okay when she can do it, but not when black women
Did I say it wasn't okay?
I feel like his wife kind of, for some reason or for whatever he's experienced, his wife has the upper hand now.
This. You just triggered me a little bit because you did something that all the other black women used to do. You asked me a question, you didn't let me answer it, and then you said you don't give a shit.
I don't though, that's the truth.
I know you don't, so what's the point of the conversation?
Because to me, your point is invalid.
And then what's the point?
I don't care.
So why would I keep dating you? So wait, no, so why would I keep dating you?
No, but me is me as.
So why would I keep dating you?
I know all the black women out there.
What does it sound like?
What does it sound like? The black women over the couple of black women you dated. You just proved the point.
You proved the Rose's point.
Hello, can we hear from the Rose? What does it sound like? Get that. You had your chance. And watch this. Hey, watch this. You see, if we was having a conversation, because you was talking perfectly fine, no attitude, and you was delegating yourself perfectly fine, and then black attitude happened.
That's me.
So watch this, and then watch this, Watch this. So then that means.
So white women don't snap. Indian women don't snap. They're not angry. It's only us black women. They play.
Conversation is done, and I address it.
To her defense, because it's not a race thing; it's a women thing.
Here's why I don't date black women. Nah, I did that. You want to? No. Here's why I don't date black women. Listen to me when I'm talking to you lot.
I'm listening.
Because you lot don't like to fucking listen. I don't date black women because you don't like to get put in your place.
Which place?
Your place. And when you get put in your place, you think you got taught like a man.
That's why they were cheating on you then.
You're not men.
That's why they were cheating on you.
Stay in your fucking place.
That's why they cheated on you multiple times.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I'm never going to be in your proper ever again. Yeah, I'm not with black women because you don't like to get put in your place.
Apologies.
Listen. Apologies where?
Apologies.
Oh, wait. Did she just shoot? Did she just shoot? Go, where's your hair? Where's your hair?
Once you talk about black women's hair, you're on your own, my guy. You're on your own. I was with you. Like, he's allowed to have a preference. You know, he's trying to talk about how she's held him down and picking up his Asian queen. But the moment you went for the hair,
you, my fair lady, haven't even had your legs open wide enough yet to even think you can speak to a man like me. So, a bit of advice. Go put your legs on some shoulders. Go swing from some chandeliers. Go get some life experience. And then come back and see me. No more. I don't want to talk to black women no more.
I know what I'm saying.
No.
Ginger.
Yeah.
I can't live like this.
I can.
You can't do it.
I can. Hey, listen, watch this. I told you, yeah? Get me on the show. I don't take no stupidness. I'm hearing stupidness. I said one thing, and they don't want to fucking agree with me, and then tell me I hate my mother.
How old is this brother?
Ginger loves black people, so it's calm. He just crashed out a bit, you know, because the heat was too much.
But black girls are not the only one that wears. White girls wear weave.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say to you, remember I said this is not a good conversation.
Yeah.
Because when you start on it, this is where it leads to. And no matter what, he wasn't going to say that, but you pulled it out now. Is that how he truly feels?
That was always in him.
Wait. Channel, we always speak over you. Have you ever reacted like that?
No.
Because you love black women.
Yeah, I do.
Do you get it?
Even though you piss me off.
If you love black women, that would never come out.
No, but I'm saying, no, but you know what it is? I felt as if it was an interrogation. I felt as if he was all jumping on him. I did.
Hey guys, welcome to Little Black Belt 91. Listen, now some more of footage has come out, which I'm gonna play for you in a second, but I have to say there's strong language coming. Okay, we're gonna have a real conversation now because I've done the analysis, the deep breakdown of where this comes from for him. Okay, but I want to do a deeper dive into the whole dynamics of what just happened here, because something happened here, right? Beyond him and having his hatred towards black women, which it is, it's hatred towards black women, right? It's hatred towards women and then black women. I don't want to say you call it misogynoir, but in the sense of the fact that there is wounds that have not been dealt with, There's a reason why this has come. It's come because there's some wounds that have come from somewhere. You've been hurt somewhere and you've not addressed it, and it's coming out like this. We're gonna address that. But there is another aspect you have to ask this question. Was he provoked? I have to ask that question, right? Because obviously the whole conversation we've spoken about his particular behavior. Was he provoked? Now, if I say was he provoked, let's not say that his reaction is justified. No, we're saying was he provoked, right? Because if you come out the way you come out, bro, I can't defend that nonsense. That's crazy to work to me. You know what I'm saying to you? But I'm asking another question because I want to be able to dissect it in a different way. But before I get to that place, I'm going to play another video. There's a lot of strong language, a lot of effing and blinding. So please, if you want to keep your ears clean, this might not be the place of the video for you. You might just want to skip this part. You understand? But we're going to play a little bit of the video because he crashed out at background, and I'm going to explain something as to why I think this is actually very dangerous. And I said this in my other video about his behavior is dangerous. Okay, all right. There's a lot going on with him, and I feel like there's a lot of things that we need to address with him. So let's just play this little clip here for you guys as well, all right?
Because they're black. I fucking told you, this fucking black thing fucking annoys me, bro. Black, I'm black, so you have to fucking love me. No, I fucking don't. No, I fucking don't. Fucking black women. Also, always fucking black women on some high horse. Do some black woman shit. Do some black women shit to make me fucking respect you as a fucking black woman. You're all sitting there and you done shit for no fucking black woman in your life. The fuck out of here. Black women respect black women. You don't even fucking respect yourselves. You haven't even got fucking black extensions on your hair. The fuck we talking about? About I hate my mother. I hate black women. How can I hate black women when I just told you I come from one and I'm empress? My mum's an empress. I don't like the way how my mother moves, so why would I pick a woman that moves like my mother? The fuck are we talking about? But because we're black, I can't say that, right? And because I'm a black thing, I can't talk about black women like that, right? And I can't date out my race, right? Because I'm black. Fuck that. Take your black shit to yourself. Like, take your black shit home. Like, I'm not black. I'm fully black. My parents are black. Darker than you, my boy. What are you talking about?
My dad black.
Fucking black women always do this shit. I'm a black woman, so you just hate me because you don't want to fuck me. I don't want to fuck you. Because you don't fucking behave yourself. Black fucking behave yourself. Fuck you. You don't have to fucking behave yourself. Sit the fuck down. Shut up. I'm talking to you. Who you talking to? I'll call my brothers. Call your brother. I'll wet him up now. And they call their brothers, and what happens? You've now got beef with their family because she's got brothers, and they taught her how to be a bad girl.
I don't know who said that.
I'm a chatting shit. And then now you've got a baby, man. You've got beef with her family. I'm a chatting shit. Because we're a black woman, and she's a black woman. And because she's a black woman, we have to take it. You black bitch, sit the fuck up.
Bambo, what's that?
I'll know everyone in your family. You're fucking mad. And we have to accept it because we're fucking black. No! I told you, Carlo, don't get me on this shit. Because I'll say some shit that nobody wants to fucking hear.
I almost puked, but let me stay focused.
Okay, so I want you to understand something first and foremost, all right? The emotion that he's displaying here is anger, and it's very important. I've said this before in my other videos. Anger is never an issue. In fact, the Bible even says that be angry, sin not. So the issue around emotion of anger is not the issue. I want people to be very, very clear here. Your anger is not your issue. Your issue is how you regulate your actions based upon the emotions that you feel in that moment. He's angry, understandable. The problem is that he's not regulated. And with that failed regulation, we're hearing what we're hearing. Now, the actual understanding of what anger comes out of two forms. Number one, when we feel violated and we feel like our boundaries have been broken. And two, when we feel like we are frustrated because we cannot reach a goal. So something's prohibiting us from reaching a goal. Okay, so what happened in this situation? Okay, what happened in this situation is that we saw Ginger J literally wild out because he could not, right, first and foremost, get the respect of the ladies. I'm going to just give you a different perspective here, okay, is that as men, the way that we're wired from young children, and because first and foremost, we are the more dominant force, regardless of whether you want to like or not, it's the truth. There is a level of entitlement that we are born into, that we're grown into, and it will never change. Because once you are giving this level of strength as a man, you operate in the world, and you can't change it. You operate in a world where you are the person who's a more dominant force. With that being said, what tends to happen is, if you can't get control, and I'm going to make it very bland and just make it straight, okay, to make it make sense, right? If you can't get the respect of somebody who you consider to be lesser than you in terms of strength, then there's a respect issue. Now, that's an equation I'm just bringing to make it understandable, right? But why is there a respect issue? That's the deeper question we have to ask, and I'll go there in a second or two. But to make it bland, a lot of young males or young boys, okay, all right, they know, we grew up into one, and we know that we are supposed to lead. We're called to lead, right? Whether we agree with it or not, that's up to you, okay? We can discuss about patriarchy another day, okay? But the reality of the situation is, we are born and bred with information, whether it's TV, whether it's your parents, whether it's your household, whether it's your culture, that you're supposed to lead. And with that leadership comes respect. The problem is, when it's modeled incorrectly and you're not taught correctly, then what we see is a usurping of you now wanting to accrue power through illegal means. And then you expect people to respect you because you are a quote unquote leader, but you actually haven't done the work to actually attain the leadership. So what we see is that with his Indian woman, she gives him the quote unquote respect, so to speak, right? She shuts up and she keeps quiet, right? But with black women, there is no respect. And in this show, what he got shown again once more was another aspect of, you're not respected by these ladies. He hasn't solved the equation yet. So his anger is consistent and forever growing because he has not solved the equation. What he's failed to do is to sit down and actually look back and go, wait, hold on. The man take me for idiot, but why they keep taking me for idiot? Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. He hasn't sussed it. Why is it that the girl them keep taking me for idiot? Why is that? What is it that I'm doing that the people that I like take me for idiot? And so when you don't sit down and you don't assess the pattern and observe why you keep getting the same results, but you want a different result, you get angry at the world and you don't get angry at the problem. So what we're seeing now with Ginger J is his anger at black women who are actually not his actual. They're not. They are part of the equation, but that's actually not the reason why you're being angry at the moment. You can't figure out how to get their respect. It's a bit like a supply teacher coming into class, and everybody's had one of these before, where there's most supply teachers come into a class, they don't get the respect of that class, right? And there are some supply teachers that come in, you know, when they come in, they're setting level straight away, blood. They don't go to that school regularly. They don't teach at that school regularly, but something about them makes you go, yeah, that supply teacher ain't playing around, bro. Yeah, they ain't playing around. And so when you are in that place like Ginger J is, there are deeper wounds and issues that are going along. But I'm gonna continue forward in a second or two. Let me just get my boy J up here just to quickly give his perspective before I continue what I'm gonna say. Because I think there's a much more, like I said, there's much more I want to explore with this in this aspect. One thing I would say, and I'll give you a personal understanding of this, right? First and foremost, in this room, why I felt it was disgusting is because in this room, the very first thing we can see is there's a black.
Fucking thing because they're black. I fucking told you, Carl. This fucking black thing fucking annoys me, bro.
Pause. There's a black woman in this room, and there's a black man coming in. And what I felt like, and I don't know what happens after this, but what I felt like is, as the man them, right? We got to take you out. We can't have the black ladies around that kind of nonsense when you're doing what you're doing. Someone's got to shut him down. Someone's got to say something to him. Someone's got to call him out in that moment, because there is now a black woman in the room, and you already had black women in another room, and you've been standing up, getting into their face, and then now we're here. And what? No one's going to tell you nothing? I know. I get. He wants to express himself, but it's actually an unsafe. It's now an unsafe environment to be in. And the only way to really make it make sense for any man to understand how dangerous this is if your daughter was in the room, would you want this man in your room with him? I wouldn't. If my sister was in the room, I wouldn't want her there. I'll tell her to get her ass out. So my issue is that you can be angry all you want, but now we're seeing the way that you're manifesting this anger, right? The way you're insulting black women specifically, because you said it wasn't a race thing, but now it's a race thing. Now I have to be, and now I am scared. I'm scared for the ladies. You feel what I'm saying to you, right? But I'll finish up some more thoughts. I'm gonna get Jay on real quick. Jay, you don't have to have your camera on if you don't want, bro. You can have it off, you know. I know you're walking and you're doing your thing outside. You don't have to have it on, bro. Let me get you on, bro. Yes, brother. Oh, your connection might be doing a wang thing, fam.
Yeah, I don't mind, to be fair, but I got wind in my background, so but I'll be home in around literally a couple minutes anyway. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. Go for it.
Can you hear me?
You're cutting out though. You're cutting out though. Oh, you're gonna be home in a few minutes. All right, bro.
Can you hear me? I'll be home in 2 minutes anyway.
Hit me. Yeah, it's calm. I'll bring you on. All right. But yeah, so as I was saying, like his situation, like here. So I want to talk about a little bit of an experience that I had as a young individual. Okay, all right. I want to talk about a little bit of an experience that I had as a young individual. Okay, so growing up, I grew up in the ends, right? Grew up in London, grew up in the Southwest, whatever. And I remember being an African kid, okay, in an environment in London where I grew up. Okay, and I remember we used to play football. And one of the things that I started noticing is the way that some of the black boys and the black girls treated me. Okay. So being in that particular space. Okay. All right. Being in that space. Okay. I recognized, yeah, how I was being mishandled as a young individual, like 10, 11 years old. And I remember, we were playing, we had a game called Runouts. And then they were doing water balloon fights as well, right? I just remember at one point, it's so crazy. All the black girls in the ends, right? I say all, but when I say all, it's like 5 or 6 of them, right? Just the main people that usually congregate in the ends that are my age. Bruh, when I say they targeted us with this water balloon situation, yeah, like we're all playing the game, but then suddenly it just changed. Before I knew it, blood, they're just bombing me. You understand what I'm saying to you? Just bombing me. And the insults that were coming my way, yeah, you're ugly, you're this, you're black, you're this, you're that, that. I was, bro, the venom that was coming my way, you don't understand what's going on, fam. Cool. I'll give that as an example. The black males also too, some of them, not all of them, but we used to play football. So with the man, if you play football, you kick ball well, you'll be okay, right? Until you challenge them one day. And then they're on your neck as well, right? And I remember I said to one of the girls who had been bombing us with the water balloons or whatever, I think I said something like, "You're ugly too, and you can go and shut the heck up." What did she go and do? She went and told her big brother. Before I know it, big brother, who's about 4 or 5 years older than me, is in my face, telling me, "Do you want to bang you in your face?" I'm like, "Oh, snap!" We're in a situation, yeah. I'm giving you examples of something so we can understand what's going on, and I can understand where sometimes the pathology comes from. Then I went to school. When I went to secondary school between the age of 11 and 16, yeah, I went to an all-black school. Got there, yeah, and I like black women. I still do. Now, of course, we're black boys and black girls. And at that point in time, let me tell you something. I don't know who this person is. Who's big? You know what? It'll be interesting to see if that person can actually hold their weight. But I'll give them an example. Please, if those of you, what's your name? Biaz, Zestro 20, Big Zane. If you've got something to say, I would love to have you on the panel. You know what I mean? Hopefully you're not as ignorant as you are in the chat and we can actually have a conversation. I don't mind having a man-to-man. Don't kill him. I want to see if we can have a man-to-man conversation. I see people like this when they troll, they don't actually know how to talk very well. So I would love to have a conversation if you're ready to have a conversation. But what I would say is that what happened between the age of 11 and 16, went to an all-black school. And let me tell you something, I've never been bullied by black women like that ever. Or black girls, I should say. Now, I'm not saying black women don't go for the same thing. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying to you is I can understand where the frustration and anger comes from. And when you don't, when you allow it to go unchecked, this is where the danger comes from, right? Being in that school, the amount of times I got called ugly, dark, blick, buckface, nutty professor, you know, all of these kind of words that were said against me. I said, damn. You know what I mean? I started recognizing, rotted. Okay. So you spend like 3 or 4 years getting insulted by the women, the girl, I won't say the girls, because I want to make it very clear, the girls that you like. That breeds a level of frustration and anger in you. You know what I'm saying to you? It does. It breeds a level of frustration and anger in you. And so at some point, you do get to that place where you're angry, right? Because you want respect, right? But obviously for me, I then moved schools. I went to an all-white school after that, after about 15. And then you get attention from white women, and you do think to yourself, white girls, sorry, and you do think to yourself, rah, like, man, want to. So wait, I'm getting treated differently. This is my experience. You're getting treated differently. And like I said, I was about to spin. I've told this story before. I was about to spin, blood. I was about to spin and be like, you know what? Because you know, okay, well, you know what? They don't disrespect me. They're not cussing me out. They're not saying I'm this and that. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, let me go there. You know what I'm saying to you? And I'm like, oh, all right, cool. But then obviously for me personally, I had a black girlfriend, a black girlfriend that came out of the woodworks, and I liked her, she liked me, and the rest they say is history. Okay. And this is really important because up until that point, I was also frustrated with them. I was also angry with them. Now I wouldn't never make the jokes about the weave and stuff. I don't really care about that. That thing, that's stupid for me. It don't even make sense. But the frustration, I can understand where the frustration and anger comes from when you suffered at the hands. Now I had a mother that loves me. So there was a cap to my frustrations. You get what I'm saying to you? I went to church and I saw other young black girls who were treating me kindly. So I actually had at least another side of things. Just that when I'm in the ends, when I'm in school, that isn't the way that people are looking at me. But the funny thing was that pool is very different, because when I came out of that space of London, and I say London because it's a built up city, right? The main city of England, right? Capital city. When I moved outside of London to an area that had predominantly more white people, where black people were around, I got treated completely differently. Can I be honest with you? I got treated completely differently. The way that black girls responded to me was very different to how London black girls were treating me. I was like, wait, what the hell? So and in my head, I'm saying to myself, is there 2 different types of black? I was trying to figure it out. Like, why is it that when I'm in London, I get this disdain, but when I'm in the countryside, we can call it countryside, but it's not really countryside. It's like another city, right? We're outside. Oh, sorry, actually, it's a town. We're in a town with it's not predominantly black, it's predominantly white, but then it's got a lot of black people there, a lot of big black people. I'm getting treated differently. I was like, oh. So then I had to look at my experience with black women, or black girls, just to say, differently. Okay, I had to look at it differently because now I had a different experience. And I think when I listen to someone like Ginger J, all I hear is you didn't have a different experience, and you haven't sat down to pause to look at the scenario differently. You haven't heard somebody else come and talk to you and say differently. And I remember I had a conversation when I got to probably like 19, I got to like 20. I was in university. I got to about university time. And when I got to university, I remember there was a guy, not my university, but I met a guy who was in my area. He's probably much older than me, probably like 25, 26 at this time. So it's like a big age gap for me. And he was talking to me about why you don't date black women. So I was like, all right, talk to me. Why do you not date black women? Because at this point, I love black women. I love black women. But I love the fact that I love their black hair. I love their skin tone. I love the energy. I'm loving the way that they have that. I love the attitude. Now, here's why I didn't like the attitude at first. Here's why. Because a lot of my experiences were people not respecting me. This is my issue though. This is my own thing though. It's my own dealings I had to do with. You know what I'm saying to you? This is something that I had to look at my own self, right? I remember this is a situation happened in university, early university. 3 black girls walked up to me and was like, Hey, when I laugh, listen, it's like you see these things, and I'm telling you, like, I never had white women do this to me. But then again, how could I? Because I was never going around white people. So it's like, you know, it's gonna be very hard to have those experiences. But I remember 3 black girls come up to me and say, just be generally willing to be mean. Right? And those are some of the experiences. There's a lot more I could talk about. I had several more of those things. A lot of my issues with black women, black girls I had at the time, I had a lot of those. They were the ones that insulted me a lot. But like I said, I had other good experiences. And when I did have those good experiences, I was like, I have to look at it differently. You know what I mean? Now, when I had to look at it differently, I also had to look at it differently because I had to look at myself as to why is it that they don't respect me? And one of the things I understood is growing up in somewhere like London, right? If you are someone, and again, when I say London, there's pockets of London, you have to be very careful. I don't want to generalize everybody. When you grow up, when I hear some of the brothers say they were quote unquote nerds or guys that were into academics, weren't necessarily sportsmen or anything like that, there is a very monolithic, very closed off when you're young. I want to make it very clear, when you're young, there's a very closed off mindset as to what's cool. So if you don't do sports, okay, if you don't do sports when you were young, right? If you weren't a fighter, if you weren't a gang leader or a part of a gang, if you weren't, you know, if you weren't here just mistreating gal and getting Pierre gal, yeah, then guess what, right? You weren't in that cool gang. And some of these girls also too, and we can talk about this assimilating to power because again, even in school, there's society and there is association with assimilating to power, right? Those girls trying to also assimilate with those men also took on a lot of those traits too. So what they end up doing is they also take some of these characteristics, whether they've learned it from home, whether they learned it from those other guys, whichever, it doesn't really make the difference, right? They then also too turn into these mean, nasty people. And it's not all black women, by the way. I'm talking about a pocket of people so you can understand what's going on. So what ends up happening is when you go to school, you get into these categories, right? Now, you get into a category where you're not the cool person, or if you're trying to move to gal, there's a certain kind of mindset at the time, right? Where those people don't rate you. And what can end up happening is you can feel frustration and anger because the way they treat you. I can understand this. Now, coming from my perspective, I was more the in-middle guy. I can chill with the cool guys, but at the same time, I'm a bit of a nerd. I ain't gonna lie to you. I liked my Pokemon at the time. Of course, I love football and I love playing football. I play football with the man all the time. But I was a fat kid. That's why he's called me Nutty Professor. And I'm still a bit of a nerd. I like to hang on with the nerd guys. They're cool. I like the energy. You know what I'm saying to you, right? The girls that you like, though, and here's where the killer thing is for guys to kind of look back at their own experiences properly, though. When I was having situations with girls that I liked, the key thing was, why is it that I like the girls that are bad? See, you don't look at it that way, right? You only look at it from a perspective of, well, I liked the girls and the girls didn't like me. No. You liked certain type of girls. You're not deep in yourself. You're not really deep in it yourself. You like us. I remember when I deeper, I said, all the girls that I like, they're mean. So whose fault is this? It's my fault. Yeah, you've got to take some ownership. All the girls that you like, they're mean. The girls that you should be going for are on your level that are also the nerds. You don't like them because you don't think they're pretty. You don't think they're attractive to you. Okay, cool. But you can't complain because you're going after the girls that are mean, that are rude, that might be disrespectful, that are liking the other bad boys. So why do you want them? I had to start deep in it, you know. Now, I'm not saying that's every experience. I'm just saying that there's a lot of those experiences. You feel what I'm saying to you? Right? Because I always say this, like a lot of times with us as guys, you don't care about that clapped girl that's saying to you that you're ugly because you think she's clapped. She holds no status and no power in your life. Okay? She holds no status and no power in your life. But if that girl, you think she's attractive and she says something to you, now she holds weight, she holds power. And that's what does the damage. Okay, all right. So that's where you have to also start looking at it from another perspective from understanding your journey. And also as well, a lot of times, like I said, until you get a little bit older, I see you, Jay, I see you. Until you get older, you don't recognize that you haven't come into your own identity. One, into your own identity, and you're confident in your own identity, that you don't care, you don't give a heck. And two, also knowing that as you get a little bit older, the monolithic aspect of what being black is changes. Like it gets wider, right? People get smarter, people get wiser, people have different experiences. They learn not to fit into a box. So as you get older, it changes the game. It's just that the damage is done when you're younger. You feel what I'm saying to you? And so this is also a part of what's happening. So coming back to what I'm saying about Ginger J, okay? Now on the show, he told us that black women mistreated him, and that, you know, he had been with black women and they had pretty much cheated on him a lot of times. Now it's important. The lady said to him, then are you not the issue? And I want to be very clear. She right. I just want to be clear, ladies, if we are saying that Ginger J is a problem, if all the women cheated on him and he is the problem as to why they cheat on him, just remember that comes back on you. So if men are cheating on you, I want the same perspective. I tell you, and then, you know, I always say this to the ladies anyway, you've got to be clear with it and say, hey, if we can say that Ginger J got cheated on because several black women cheated on him and it's on him, he has to look at it. I want you to also stop saying that men are just cheaters. Start looking at the fact that you're making choices that put you in the space of cheating men. If we're going to agree and say the girls were right for saying that he needs to look at himself, if he keeps dating cheating black women, then you're going to have to look at yourself as to why you keep dating cheating black men. See, everybody thinks like that, but it's when you become a victim, people don't like it. They don't want to take accountability. And that's what Ginger J is doing right now. He don't want to take accountability because he's been a victim. You know what I mean? But let me get Jay on and then we'll chop it up some more because, like I said, there's a lot more to get into and to chop it to. Because I know some people are asking, I've seen this on TikTok and stuff, they're asking, like, does he have a point? And like I said, I feel like, you know, there's a certain type of women that you don't want to date. It doesn't matter what race they are. You know what I'm saying to you? It don't matter what race you are, but obviously you like black women, so that's why you're getting a. You have to look at it from another perspective, which is, why do I keep getting the same results with these women? Why is it me that keeps getting those results? Why do I keep encountering those type of women? And if you're not willing to be accountable, which I say to the ladies all the time, if you're not going to be accountable, don't start blaming the opposite sex. There are always going to be terrible people on that side. There are terrible people on the other side. But if you don't take accountability for yourself, you're going to always feel disempowered. And then you come out like Ginger J and you have to cuss everybody out. All right. But we'll continue this conversation. Let me get Jay on. What are you saying, Jay?
My bro, can you hear me?
Yes, brother. Talk to me, cousin.
Just in my garden, man. Oh, gosh. There are multiple things to discuss here. Multiple things, but let me just say this first. Kojo, God bless you, man. God bless you. One thing I love about you, bro, I don't know that we have a personal relationship, is that you want to tackle every aspect, especially the aspects that some people don't realize also needs to be tackled. But before we get into it, I just want to say black love is not toxic. What we continuously deal with is some of the patterns, some of the issues that we've taken on board, which is from trauma, our culture, our history, the way things have been modeled in our lives. These are the things that we take on board and we project them. So that's what I want to say. I think we need to nip in the bud that black love is associated with toxicness or any type of issues. And therefore, we also need to deal with our actions as a people. So let's just get that out the way there. The second point, which is the most obvious one, the nuance that we're talking about in this particular scenario is that the black woman is the most undesired, disrespected, talked about in a negative sense. Not just other races, but also within the black community. It's that this unity that is fueling all of what we see here. However, though, in the clip, we can also see that because of the type of show it is also a setup, because we all knew where that was going to come from, but we have to have the wisdom to understand how to actually deal with the situation. And if that means you say nothing, then you say nothing, especially when you have deep-rooted anger, deep-rooted issues going on. As it goes to Ginger J, you said it correctly, bro. I think the easy thing to say is, he just doesn't like black women and he hates them. Well, he grew up in the ends. He grew up around black women. His preference is actually black women. What we're dealing with when it comes to a Ginger J is that we see all the time, because of the hurt that he's experienced, When he's moved on to someone of a different race and he's getting a different experience, it's like a breath of fresh air. But it doesn't mean it's a more healthier relationship. It just means naturally, from a cultural sense, those triggers that usually trigger him are not at play. It doesn't mean that same woman is not going to do the same thing to him. And that's a really big issue, because we got the Latino women, for example, who they're known as being difficult, rude, fiery, etc. But they're received differently because a lot of black men fetishize them. That's one of the biggest problems, because it doesn't mean whatever, based on a person that you choose, that you're not going to be treated the same way. So there's a lot of hypocrisy, a lot of contradiction happening both ways. Now, if I go back a bit, because really we're addressing Ginger J here, I think that aspect of where he never felt the type of respect that he wanted from women that looked like him, I think that is an underestimated issue. That's not excusing his behavior. That's addressing, if you don't feel respected or loved by people who look like you, and you feel like it happening to, let's say another community, another race, you're going to start asking yourself some serious questions. Probably not all the right questions, but you're going to ask yourself some serious questions. Now, Cole, you was mentioning about him going to jail and all that type of stuff, right? One thing I've realized that you can go to jail as a guy and do certain things, but if you are not the type of man that some women are going to respect, none of that matters. None of that matters. That might get you into certain circles, that might get you into certain conversations, but there is something specific about who you are as a man, regardless of whether you are a 9-to-5 guy, an entrepreneur, or a criminal. Also, I want to say, 11 years in prison. Like, come on, bro. What do you think is going to happen? You think your missus is going to be ride or dying for 11? Come on. I think that's ridiculous anyway. But yeah, I think there are a much larger... No, let me not say it. I think there are multiple important conversations that we need to have when it comes to this. And this is from like a bro to bro, in terms of how we need to address him and what he needs to do from there. Because it doesn't necessarily mean that the Asian girl that he's with respects him more than black women. He could be showing up differently in that relationship. But that deep-rooted issue that he has means that he's not projecting it onto her because she's Asian. That's it. So there's so much things that we need to discuss, bro. And it's one of them ones where, do you know what? Just like you did for Javan yesterday, I wish we could actually have him up on it and actually have a real conversation with him, because it's more than just he just doesn't like black women. There are deep-rooted things that are happening in our community. Like, we all know men and women that say, oh, I'm now dating a white person and I feel so much more relaxed. I feel so much calmer. We know people that's got married to, the other side, and all of a sudden they've changed their tune. They've changed their content. They've changed everything. And it's like, is it? What's going on here, right? But they're not asking the real questions that they need to ask of themselves. They're just ducking and diving and then hiding and then pretending and then getting onto black men, getting onto black women. But there are real conversations that we need to have to nip this in the bud. But I don't want to talk too much, bro. But all I'll say is that we can have a conversation about preferences if we boil it down to that. But there's so much more nuance to it in the way black women have been treated, the way even that black men feel also, is that this is always going to be a sensitive issue, and it needs to be talked about with mature people. Not people who are going to draw you out, not people who have a deep-rooted hatred, because then we're going to get this mess again. In 6 months' time, we're probably going to get another person coming out saying the same thing. Next year, another person coming out and saying the same thing. But there are things in our community that we really need to talk about, and we're not.
Bro, you hit the nail on the head, bro. And I think, when I was watching the Bkchat video, I was like, this is such a great opportunity to have a real conversation, right? When we have mature people that are intellectuals, that are willing to let other people finish their point and say what they got to say. It's natural that things are going to get heated. It's natural things are going to get a bit triggered, because it is a triggering topic, right? It's a triggering topic to really talk about real reasons as to why. Because had they stayed calmer, had he stayed in a space, had he stayed in a place where he could have actually asked more questions of the ladies too, right? But because he was getting angst about the way that they're probably questioning him, and not just the way they're questioning him, they are representing the pain that he has not dealt with. Okay, and so this is what makes it so difficult to have this kind of conversation. And this is why I feel like the guys also kind of failed him, because in this space, when he's having that conversation, he's getting to that place. When we're guys, we can have a conversation with each other in a particular way that in a particular way that kind of we use different language. So it's a way that we may discuss something, right? It's like I was saying to Japan yesterday, it's like if I say trust, you're probably not hearing the same word. So I'm gonna have to use a word like, bro, you don't rate that. I know what's underneath the term, you don't rate that. It's trust, but you don't rate that. It's a word for you to understand. So there's a language that we tend to use as men, which can be very invulnerable, that allows people to be able to have the conversation still. The beginning of this conversation is a real conversation. Okay. He actually was explaining his pain. And this is where there's another conversation within that. He was explaining his pain. And I think I got a little clip actually that I can play to explain what I mean by he was explaining his pain. And I understood where he was coming from. And actually, I got what he meant. And that's why I said I did get past what he meant. And we had to, that's why I wanted to do the first video to address the main issue first. His behavior was off point. I had to call it out and address it. Then now I can go underneath that and actually address what's actually happening underneath it. Within that space, once you clear what his nonsense was, right, there is a real conversation to have about, like I said, sometimes people are in spaces where they've encountered particular women or particular men, but we're talking about Ginger J and how he's dealt with women, right? That you've been mistreated several times, that you now label the whole entire gender or race, intersectionalizing race and gender here, right? So I'll play a little clip from the show to just show you what I mean by that, because there's a point where he actually says it. So let me just play a little clip. I think it's this part here.
Loud. But you said attitude earlier.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
You know you're proving his point.
So here's what we're not
Don't
gonna
give a shit.
No, but I'm saying, no, but you're proving his point. Like,
Don't give a heck.
wait. Let me say something. Let me say
That's
something.
not my man.
No, let me
Don't go
talk.
there.
Ladies,
And he likes
please.
my attitude.
Come on, please.
Watch this. No, wait, watch this. You just triggered me a little bit because you did something that all the other black women used to do. You asked me a question, you didn't let me answer it, and then you said you don't give a shit.
I don't though. That's the truth.
I know you don't. So what's the point of the conversation?
Because to me, your point is invalid.
And then what's the
So
point?
I don't care
So
for
why
the
would I keep
answer,
dating
that's
you?
why.
So wait, no. So why would I keep dating you?
No, but me is me.
Now, I think I think that is a key issue as to what's actually really working underneath the surface, right? Is he feels that black women don't care about him. And that lack of care is a rejection. And looking at a black woman is an embodiment of the rejection that he's always felt. Now, whether that's with the mum as well, or whether that's even with the fact that we haven't really heard about his dad too much, too tough as well, there's an embodiment of that woman or that young lady there not showing him the respect that he feels he deserves, and also not giving a heck about his pain. And that then her saying, I don't give a shit. Her saying, I don't care. Her saying, I'm not gonna give you an audience to listen. I don't want to listen to what you got to say. You're not and what you're really hearing is you're not important. You're not that important. You're not special. You know what I'm saying to you? You're nobody here. So I don't care what you got to say. That's sending him to the hills, because I'm sure, and again, this is not about blame, it's about we're talking about trying to understand the pathology. I'm sure that is something he's has encountered, because he then also let us know that his mum would box down the whole room, and and he hated that kind of behavior. His mum would do certain things and he don't like it. Tells me that there's probably an original existing pain there that's linked up with when he's dealt with black women in the past, hoping that he'll get a different result with black women. Unfortunately, each individual time he's chosen, and I want to say he's chosen, just like any woman, if you keep getting the same results, he's chosen to date specific black women that don't rate his thing, because he hasn't worked out the equation just yet. Jump back in for me, Jay.
Well, wonderfully said, man. I think we know people personally who feel the exact same way. They don't feel that, our own people rate them. Whether it's man or woman, they don't feel that they're rated. They don't feel that they're loved. They don't even feel that they are viewed as attractive, in our community. So they make other different types of decisions. And even when you look into it, when you speak to them and you kind of look into their background, you can see what they are missing is that black love, or a representation of that black love. When I'm even talking about from a father or a mother to a son or a daughter, for example. So I agree with you that is something that is ingrained, and it's only amplified by the choices that we keep on making. As you know, I made the same myself, growing up, right, until I came to an understanding that I either need to date differently, or I need to become a better version of who I am, so that I operate in that space differently, instead of just being silent and then taking it. So for me in this situation, over the number of years, because big man's in his 30s, right? So for the majority of his life, you know, this has been building. But the moment that he made a different decision, I think it goes back to what you said in the beginning, bro. Instead of actually dealing with that, which then will boil down to his childhood and everything else, he's just felt, this is different. So therefore, I'm the victim. I don't have to be accountable. I'm not to blame. And it's you people over there. And don't get me wrong, for those who don't know him, he's in the, what can I say? He's in the media, entertainment industry. So he's around our people every day, all day, every day. And for those in America, when I say the ends, I mean he's in the hood. Like he grew up around proper black people, like he's black, if that makes sense. And I mention that because there's some people who grew up in white communities who might feel the same way, but that's a slightly different conversation than what we're having in this sense, right? But I've lost my train of thought, but to get back to even what I was going to say beforehand, this is one of the big issues that we need to contend with, bro. I think there is so much more going on in the situation that when a trigger does happen, we need to be a lot more responsible about how we emote, how we respond to it. Because at that point, he could see what was happening, but he's probably been, what's the word I'm looking for? He's had these conversations many times, privately, right? So this was a point where he said, I'm kind of done with it. That's why he's responding the way he's responding. Because he is tired of, what's the word I'm looking for? Being made out to be the bad guy. When he feels, no, I've been mistreated by you people. And look what he said in the video as well. Oh, gosh. He's more or less saying, basically, he's more or less saying, look at your behavior and even look at what you do to each other and for each other, and you want to come for me. This is what he's more or less trying to say. So his viewpoint right now is not healthy in his own community.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you played it already, bro, but he doubled down literally the day after it came out. And he said, no, I was talking about the women that I particularly dated, etc. Because obviously he has sisters, mum, everyone who is black. And then his sister came out or something like that. Or was it his niece or whatever? She came out as well and said, basically everyone stopped texting her. This guy doubled down. He created his grave and now he can lay in it, right? So that means his view is already completely tainted on the type of love that he can gain from a black woman or the type of love that he even wants to give to a black woman. And while he's continuously still operating in a victim space, he, like many people, are not going to understand, first and foremost, let's break down how you are and how you were in those particular relationships, even down to your choices, because that's where we need to start from. And it may sound, the word out there is victim blaming or whatever. Look, end of the day, we have to address everything. We have to address everything because it is not healthy for him or anyone else to continue thinking that your own people do not love you, do not rate you, are not willing to respect you. That will continuously do something to you. And dating outside of your race will continuously enforce that. And by the way, I would love to know what his missus thinks at this moment in time and how she's going to respond to this, right? But I'm sure they've had these conversations. This is the thing. I'm sure they've had these conversations. So I don't know, man. If anyone in the comments has dated someone, if you're not black, if you've dated a black person who feels this way, and what are some of the private conversations that you've had, or even those here who have dated outside your race, and the conversations that you've had with, those women or those men, I would love to know what are some of those conversations that you have, what can I say, that you're okay telling us in the world, because we need to have these, we need to sit down and actually talk about these things more and more, because there is a starting point. There is always a starting point. But to start it with, or you just hate black men or black women, is not fair. But we still need to address how you do things. We still need to address the insults. Like, talking about the hair is irrelevant to me. Like that to me is so silly. Talking about hair, and this is one thing, bro, that I always find interesting. I don't know a black man who has specifically said, at least to me or around me, I prefer you with your natural hair. Like, generally, they can talk about it as guys and just say stuff, but when you look at their choices, I don't see that. But that's because of who those ladies like. When you look at how those ladies dress, how they carry themselves, I know this is what you want. But those ladies with the unquote natural hair, they're not packaged in the way that these people want. Right? So to me, it's a bit of a hypocrisy going there. And at the same time, it's are you just saying something for the sake of saying something, just to hurt, just to throw a spear? Because it doesn't make sense to me based on what I see out there. And bro, that's me, man.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because funny enough, me and Javen talked about this yesterday, right? And we spoke about even hairstyles. I said, listen, me personally, I like a level 1. Listen, I like a level 1. You got a level 1 with a squiggly line in your head.
Woo.
I like a level 1 with a squiggly line in the head. Them know to be the baddies.
Bro.
They be the baddest of the baddest.
That's how
And
call me, bro.
See, that's it. You see what I'm saying to you? So man already knows, cuz man already know he's got the personal experience. So it's like for me personally, again, even when I say natural hair, I think we have to even define that, because again, we can talk about hairstyles in terms of like, for instance, when I was in Ghana the last few years, right? What I loved being in that space is I don't care about extensions, you know what I'm saying to you, but I love the fact that your extensions are in African styles. So whether it's braids, whether it's box braids, whether it's the Bantu knots, whether it's the, I don't know what other names they have. There's so many different hairstyles that we have, right? I love seeing them. You know what I'm saying to you? Me personally, I didn't like seeing the straight weaves. It wasn't my thing. But I love when they have when they have the extensions of the hair, and they're doing it in the African black, you want to call it cultural hairstyles. I loved it. That's what I like. You know what I'm saying to you? But give me a level 1 with a squiggly line in your head, you're going to have me every day. You know what I'm saying to you? Yeah? Now, I've said to all to say is that what I heard from Ginge is what I've heard from a lot of black men when they say they don't want to date a black woman. And it's like a cult. It's like talking to somebody, no offense to anybody, Joe, what this is. It's like talking to, like they will give you the script. Okay, it's like talking to Mormons. They will give you a script. They have a script that they run by. And so when I'm hearing Ginger J, I'm hearing the script. I'm hearing the old school classics of but your weave will fall out and it will fall out into the ground and and all that nonsense. So and then when I hear that, I'm like, okay, so you're part of the cult. You're not thinking for yourself yet. You're still in pain, and it's led you to a cult. And that cult is has anti-black rhetoric to it. So when you're talking about it, we can identify you because you go straight to that place. That's why he wanted to go straight to that place about hair. Look, if I'm going to insult a black girl, yeah, I've never had an argument with a black girl and be like, but is your hair real though? I just, that's not, if I'm trying to get at you, and even in school, if I'm trying to get at you, that was never the argument. We always go for you're clapped. That's the one we're going for. But nobody wants you. You know what I'm saying to you? That's the one we go for. We talk about faces. So the fact that you go for the hair is very much what I feel like white supremacy does. It's like that's what they were targeting. That's what they've made an issue. Rather than just saying, nah, your face is clapped, you're ugly, you're this. He wanted to say, but how many of you haven't got your real hair? Bro, like, and that for me is crazy. You know what I mean? That's and then to shift and then to come out after and be like, you're almost like you're trying to help the ladies and try and say like, I want women to have their real hair. That was not your argument. Your argument wasn't about you love their real hair. You know what I mean? If you did, you'd have said that. Your whole point wasn't about how you want to, like, I've been on TikTok sometimes and there are people trying to have a conversation with black women about hair. That's a real conversation. But this one here, you weren't. You were vexed and angry. They hurt your feelings and you wanted to hurt their feelings back. So that's when you start talking about, but who's got their real hair? Who's got their real hair? So now if they then take the wig off and they show you the real hair, what will be your next comment? But look how messy it is though. You'll go to another thing. Oh, but is it long though? Is it you go to you're never going to be satisfied because you actually don't care. You actually don't care. And that's just the honest truth. You know what I mean? So I'm saying again that Ginger J needs to look at it again because he's telling us to go watch the whole episode. And I'm like, did you watch it again yourself? Did you, or are you, and when people can only see that they've been provoked, but not see how their impact has hit people, I do question them. You know what I mean? Like you have I feel it. You did get provoked. He did. And we have to have that conversation about how that girl knew she had him. And let me say this, 2 people were actually triggered in that moment. It's just that one crashed out way worse and much more nastily and showed out where their pain is than the other person. Because when she crashed out, she couldn't be consulted at that point. The girl was trying to tell her, listen, calm down, leave it alone. She said, I don't care. She's going to stand there. So there was actually 2 crash outs happening at the same time. But because one person, he took it to that next region, next level, and because he's an unaddressed pain that he's not dealt with in that moment, this is why we're getting what we're getting. But yeah, go for it, bro.
One thing I want to say as well, right? Where's Enioso's message? So obviously he's talking to devil's advocate, but do you think you would have disdain for your own if you had his lived experience though? Now, Koja already spoke about his lived experience, right? I have my own. I only date black women, so I can say black women have treated me the worst than anyone who has treated me my whole entire life. When it comes to the respect factor, what we're talking about is us as men having to come to terms. Why do these things keep happening? That's why I talked about you can make a different decision in who you date, but the best thing to do is to address yourself. And I made those changes. And, you know, let's just say my life is different now. I'll put it that way, right? So you can have those lived experiences, but there is also always a question of what choices you're then going to make with it. And I think that's the key, because most have these experiences. I think if you look at the men on the panel, not one of them invalidated his experience. They just haven't gone to the length for them to say they now have a preference for a woman who is not black, and also I'm going to insult you as a black woman as well. Even the most notorious one, what's his name again, bro? The one that has like the female name. What's his name again? You're mute, bro. You're mute, bro.
Wait, which one?
China, that's it. China.
Ah.
Yeah, even him. I know American audience, you don't know him, but if you remember Just Pearly Things, he was most known for going on that platform and having some of the most wildest views, especially on black women, right? Even for him not to come out and say, start insulting black women, and that's usually his rhetoric, by the way. This is usually where he goes to. In that moment, yeah, I guess he used his wisdom to assess what's going on. But even him in that moment, he didn't choose to go and do that. But that's his rhetoric, right? So, yeah, thank you, everyone. So so you have to look deeply into these things and say, all right, what's going on here? Because even my missus asked me, is anything that Ginger J is saying, is it true? So there are real questions now being asked, because people are realizing if we keep on talking about these things keep coming out and we can see his pain, etc. We need to have more of a conversation than just settle at he's the enemy, he's this, self-hatred and XYZ, because it's something that is synonymous in our community. There was another lady, right, who she's not social media famous like that, so those in America won't know who she is, but she came out, was a couple of weeks ago on someone's podcast and said, it's only black men who have treated her the worst, from trauma to sexual abuse and etc. There's no reason even for me to come out and say she hates black men. It's not the case. It's just that her experience in dating black men has been a horrible one. She didn't say she's going to date someone. Why? She could make that decision. But for me, I chose to understand her experience is just mad. It's horrible. And it continues. And if anything, that particular lady as well, she even said the most horrible, in terms of women, the most horrible women that's been towards her is other black women, right? So we have to ask ourselves a question on how we talk to each other, how we communicate, how we address things, how we deal with conflict. We have to address what is happening in our community for some of us to have these deep-rooted issues, these deep-rooted anger, towards each other. And then start questioning, well, let's be honest here. If you do have those things, why are you dating someone you don't like? These things are going to come out. If we flip it around, if you know how many, let's say, black men who has dated white people or white women, and when things go wrong, those white men are saying nigga this and nigga that, you black B and black B. You know what I mean? So it's like, what's going on here? What is happening with this world that people generally are not dealing with whatever issues they have? And as soon as things go wrong, now they're just throwing darts and spears at each other. It's crazy where we are in society. But I just want to say this, just to end it. Forget about places like Africa or the Caribbean. Even in the West, black people be marrying black people as a majority. So black love is strong. It's just that this is not what we see most of the time on social media. And I acknowledge that some families do not really have a strong sense of that. We get that. But what we do is that we pray, is that anything that you've been through, that you were able to forgive, you're able to move on, that you're able to seek healing in regards to it, and you're able to find what true black love is, and that's going to transform you. Because this shouldn't be normal. This rhetoric should not be normal. That's why me and Koja, we try to address things differently. Because what about how do we get to a place where we can be more healthier as a people, rather than fuel the versus mentality? Because this is all this does, and I hate it. What's happening, Precious? And I hate stuff like this, because it's like, we can talk about preferences, but at the same time, are we actually talking about the real things that we do need to talk about? And that's one of the biggest problems to me, man. Precious, you there?
Carter just disappeared.
Oh, no, don't worry. We'll take over.
You're like, peace out, Ato.
What's happening? But yeah, Precious. Obviously, we talked about it in our group briefly. We didn't have our usual long conversations about it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not trying to be in this.
I know. But you stepped in, so I just had to say, come on, finish the work. But obviously, you've heard what me and Koji have had to say. I don't know how long you've been listening for. And obviously, way more videos have now come out about this situation. You've seen different guys have their opinions. A lot of guys are basically saying the way he carried himself in that moment was absolutely horrible. You're going to get a few guys, I think there's one or two in this chat as well, that are just, I'd rather them not even be here because of the nonsense they're saying, yeah. But ultimately, where we are now, a couple of days later, knowing more about his life, his history, and what happens out there, what's your thoughts?
I haven't really caught up with his life history and all that stuff, but I can tell from the video that you guys posted in the chat that there's been a lot of hurt and a lot of pain that has come in his experience with black women.
Yeah.
And as I said in the chat, look, these conversations are very loaded because there is nuances and there's a discrepancy between black men and black women when it comes to conversations of preference, and it's not balanced. And so when you're trying to have this preference conversation from a balanced standpoint between black women, that's not the case, and that's okay. Like, it is what it is. But I agree with you. I think you can't paint a whole community with the same brush. There's also, in every experience, whether nuanced, unique, or very common, there's truth in that. There's elements of truth. There's also elements of your perception makes your reality. And so as a result, there's always going to be a fight between what is the truth and what is your perception that has made it the truth for you. So yes, I can understand that he's probably had some really bad experiences. He has a difficult relationship with his mother, and as a result, that's the perception and the reality in which he leads through moving forward. But for me, I say, for those people, we let it be what it's going to be, because as you said, you have to go on your own journey. You have to realize your own things. You have to open up your own Pandora's box of trauma, issues, everything, and sort through that box out yourself and come to your conclusion about what you're keeping and what you're letting go. But as a whole, I think seeing that video was just very kind of like, my issue is in that situation, a woman couldn't have come forward and said to him, the way that you are behaving right now, the way that you're talking right now is very disrespectful. And what you're doing is not the case. Only a man could have done that. And of course, in those kind of situations when he's very heated, it can go two ways. It can go, okay, I'm going to listen to this man who's trying to talk to me, or I'm so heated, this is going to turn into a fight. So I guess if we're trying to be fair, you can look at it from those situations and saying, well, yes, okay, people didn't say anything, but sometimes you don't even want to say anything in the moment because you don't know how this person's going to react to what you do say and how it's going to turn left. But again, I do think that the fact that no one said anything, the fact that people just let it be, it's concerning to me. And the fact that they started to laugh and take in, I guess it's a bystander effect. And when you're in the face of something very uncomfortable, emotionally threatening, it can be very uncomfortable to know what to do. Should I laugh? Should I not? Should I step in? Again, but when we're having these conversations about how men should be leaders or how men should act, these are the times, these are the situations and the context in which leadership should show up. And you should step forward and say, you know what? You have your opinions, you have your experience, and I respect it. But right now, in this situation, this is not going to run. We can't have this. So yeah, and I think that's the point. That's the part really for me that disappointed me. Because, as I said in the chat, all these conversations about preferences and whether you want to date outside of your race, date who you want to date. Date who likes you, date who you like. Because I just think that sometimes when Black women have these conversations about preferences or preferences in Black women comes up, I just feel like it's a magnet for Black women to just gather insults. And I just don't think we need to be having these conversations. Like what you like and keep it pushing. And that's where it should be. Because yeah, every time we have these conversations, it will veer into the point of Black women finding a way to be magnets to getting more insults and more, you know, just rhetoric and vitriol, which I just don't think we need. So yeah, that's just me anyway. But it's a shame, because I'm sure he didn't want to be portrayed in that way. But sometimes the reality of how you are, it will find its way to be shown into the light. So, you know, and that's not to say that he's a bad person. He just needs to figure out what's going on, you know, just figure it out. Therapy is good, guys. Trust me. It's good. Try it.
I agree, Presh. And well, two things. First, I want to address P in the chat. I know you just started like 5 or 10 minutes ago, but no one here is justifying anything. What we do on Kojo's channel, we address the issue, which we did in the beginning, but we also talk about how do you get there. Because any therapist or counselor will tell you, or any coach will tell you, you can't just address what's happening now or the surface level. You got to look at all of it and address that so we can get to a better place. And the second thing is, because Precious, you mentioned about leadership and everything else. I'm happy you did say that, because one of the things that we are seeing more, although we didn't see it properly in this sense, is a lot of men now saying, do you know what, even if we understand you, we're not going, just because we understand you doesn't mean we're going to agree with your behavior around it. And what I was saying earlier is, you can see, yeah, the guys didn't stand in front of him and say, bruh, stop the nonsense. But where we usually see 4 or 5 different guys, especially on that particular channel, join in and start doing the madness, they chose to sit back and just leave it alone, right? And even China, known as someone who has this same rhetoric, he was the person who was trying to calm down the situation. That's no problem. But outside of that, and this is where people like us, you know, we always wish, as time goes by, we get more traction. Obviously, Kojo's worldwide anyway. He's famous. He goes viral literally every single day, right? No, we comment, but you know how it goes. Right, but it's these conversations that need to come up, because the first person to ask me about it, at least today, was my missus, right? And so we was talking about it, you know, personally and privately. Like I said, she generally asked me, like, how do people feel? Is there any truth to what he was saying? That's no problem. And then there was an overwhelming sense that came over me to, I need to respond to this properly. Like, I need to respond to this in a way that she feels safe, that she feels seen, she feels heard, that she feels loved, you know, all of that type of stuff. And then the next thing I said, that, you know what, I have a platform, you know, my platform is king, people know my platform, etc. I need to put something up about this. Literally, as I was writing it, I just randomly went into Instagram, and then I saw Kojo's message, Jay, are you free? We're going to talk about this. I was just like, look at God. Look at God. So I say that to say there is something happening, that, you know, there is a change. Instead of people staying quiet about this, instead of people just blindly agreeing, we're now having more, what can I say, more mature conversations, but definitely conversations of wisdom. Even if people online just want to hear or just listen to the anger, and if you don't insult someone or counsel them, that means you agree with them. People are starting to move on from that and being a lot more mature. So yeah, man, I was going to say, for all of us, keep continuing, because we need to rise above all of this anger, this hate, yes, this self-hatred. We need to just be a lot better and have more healthy relationships than just keep attacking each other. Because from what I've stood for years upon years, I understand how we got here as a people. That's not up for debate. I understand how we got here as a people. But how do we move forward? That's what I'm about. How do we move forward? And how do we want to move forward? So that's why, for me, I don't want to join the versus mentality. I don't want to join the nonsense. I'd just rather talk about how can we move forward. Those who want to hear it will hear it. Those who don't, But over to you, Coach.
No, good talk. So I was listening. That's my internet was going shadow wolf on my laptop, so I listened to my phone. But yeah, no, man. I think it's, like I said. I think there is, you know, there's some area of here for growth, you know, in terms of conversation. you know, and you know, I think with Ginge, you know, I think he needs to sit down and really pay attention and really go back to the drawing board, man. You know what I mean? Go and look at, and I think also it's really important because for me personally, like I said, I think Precious kind of highlighted it. I was expecting the dudes to stand up and say something, right? The problem is that in this scenario, I feel like there's several things happening. Number one, these men are not very good at conflict resolution and to de-escalate situations. Number two, they're conscientious and aware, and this is where the show takes accountability, that they're trying to make a show. And they recognize, unfortunately, they're weaponizing Black women's pain and doing what I've seen on TikTok. I see a lot too. They're weaponizing Black women's pain to get those views, right? And then with that actually being said, I agree with you, Jay. China ain't no different, you know. He just not gonna say it like that, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Because some of his rhetoric be on the same level, just not saying that in terms of hair. He won't say that, but his critique and the way he critiques, he's actually said it on another podcast. I think it was with the guys that are in the gym normally. He's actually said it that he purposely said certain things to try and trigger because he wants to get them to change their ways. So it's like it's not the same, but it's on the same line. You know what I mean? And in the background, China, with probably more than anybody, was cracking up when he was going on his rant, rather than be like, all right. And I know that China, obviously, in the end, it stopped him. But my point, the point of the thing was that at that moment in time, China could have said something. He could have, because he actually has, out of all the boys, he actually has the power in the group. The girls actually respect China over all the boys in that group. So he actually had an aspect to be say like, bro, like, I don't agree with that, bro. You see what I'm saying? Because I understand how dynamics work. That's why I'm not saying that the boys couldn't have jumped in. I'm just saying to you that I understand the dynamic of how groups can work. So China, I've already, I was waiting to see, is he going to say something? Are you going to let the guy know, like, we disagree with you? You know, but all the boys were were very, very quiet. You know, all the boys were very, very quiet. And in that space, what ended up happening is that we don't get to see them actually tackle this issue. Because had it been me, I'd have told them, listen, bro, there's a deeper pathology to what you're talking about, bro. You're not deep in that. What you're saying don't even make sense. You don't realize that you just contradict yourself. You're not realizing that actually in this space, bro, the way you're getting irate, it's actually scary. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I keep saying, like, he actually got up his seat. He then started remonstrating. He doesn't come all the way over to the girls, but he's remonstrating. And I get it that the girls trying to wind him up. I hear it. Listen, don't even get twisted. You know, I hear it in that. But it's like, then he started remonstrating to the audience, and it's like, all right, cool, bro. Someone tell him that his behavior is not right. Nobody tells him to his face that his behavior is not right. From there to the end, when he goes in the back room, we don't see it. So now he can't even be corrected because he's not being corrected on the spot and being told, but trying to want to come out after and say, yeah, I don't really agree that. And so what ends up happening is what we see is what I can't remember what the term is, where you outwardly agree. It's like a conformity. It's like you outwardly agree, but inwardly you disagree. There's actually a term for it as well. I can't remember what the actual term is. Maybe Precious will know. But yeah, he outwardly they agreed, but inwardly they probably disagree. And maybe they have fear there. Maybe they're afraid of whatever, right? But in this instance, someone should have said something, you know, as it was going too far. And I get it. China was saying, obviously, they were questioning him. But let's not forget, at the beginning, they were clapping him. So this wasn't the whole way through the whole show that they were on him like, you're this, you're that. No, at the beginning of the show, they were applauding him. They were appreciating him for the things that he was saying because he was able to articulate some of the points. It is then later on when he then makes some certain remarks. He then has a confrontation with one of the girls. And by the way, it was only one of the girls who actually then said something that said, I don't care, that he then insulted all the women in the room and said, take off your wigs, let's see them all. Why did all of them get it? Because you actually don't like black women the way you say you do right now, because you don't like them right now. And it's okay. There's a pain there. You have a pain, right? Because if it wasn't, you'd have just stuck with that one girl. You'd have told her, listen, you yourself, yes, as you said, take off your wig. But he didn't just say that. He went on further and said, all of you now take off your wigs. None of you can show me. All 6 of you can't show me. And when I say 6, I think he said 6 because then he also went on to the girls into the crowd. So at that point, that bro, it's not just that one girl that insulted you. You have a frustration towards black women. You need to deal with that because otherwise you become a danger. You know what I mean? So yeah, just that aspect. I definitely agree that the men could have jumped in and intervened. It would have been good to hear. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know if I'm pressure wants to say something, or Jay. I don't know.
I was just going to say that the word is compliance that you were looking for.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Yes, Jay. So let's go for it.
Yeah, just for context to those who haven't seen the actual episode, I don't know if it's even. No, it is. I saw it today actually. It's come out. I don't even know what the question was they was debating. So for those that don't know, Bkchat, let's call it a debate show where they debate some of the most the topics that we've been talking about for 5 years. They don't reinvent the wheel. They're just about controversy, making this amount of noise. So I don't know what the actual question was that they was debating, but it seems from some of the clips away from this situation, they was debating race and etc. So for example, the same girl in the Ginga clip was getting onto a mixed race girl saying that she isn't black and things like that, and then saying your white privilege has still, helps you throughout your life. This isn't about whether we agree or not. It's just to give context on who individuals are in this moment and what they stand for and what they do, whether they are truthful, whether they're lying, whether they're doing too much, or whether they are antagonistic. But at the very least, this whole episode or conversation seems to be about race. And what Ginga was asked is, why is he with an Asian girl? Because currently he's with someone, an Asian girlfriend. And it took him a time. When I say time, I don't mean it took him a long time, but he didn't go straight into it. There was a journey to get here. But the problem goes from Precious to everyone else, right? So I was getting a call just then. When you're having these conversations, there is something that's always building in the back. And you have to have wisdom to be able to disarm it or take a step back from it. But the nature of this show, they're not going to do that. It's all about entertainment. It's all about, doing the most. Like we said, China, he actually agrees with what Ginga was saying in a way. That's his rhetoric. We know King Richards, he kept completely silent, but that's also because his last couple of girlfriends have not been black, right? When he was working for Pearl, these are some of the conversations and the rhetoric he was having. So you have to deep what's actually happening. With a lot of the ladies, I don't know, only know one of them, but I don't know the rest of them to actually know what they stand for, what their background is, etc. But yeah, this is just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Let me ask this question to the both of you. Considering this happens regularly, are you surprised this particular thing went global?
When you say global, what do you mean?
American blog pages are posting it as well, talking about it. American influencers and bloggers too.
So I think the reason why that is because I think, look, the relationship between Black Americans and Black British people is becoming quite tenuous at the moment. It's becoming very tenuous. I think the reason why it's gone so global is because very rarely do you see British videos this clearly addressing race, interracial dating, why you're not dating Black women. It's very, very, very rarely do you see videos like this from a British standpoint. So I think when things like this happen in Britain, it does go global in America because they're like, well, you guys have all this stuff to say about us, but look at you guys. You guys are still, you might be closer to your culture, for example, but you're still suffering the same systemic sort of racial things that we also experience. So I think part of that is seeing how actually the situations in both America and the US, both America and the UK are very similar when it comes to these kinds of topics, right? And I think that's why it's making such a round, maybe not globally, but yeah, across the pond. I think also, if we're also being honest, it's also coming, I guess it's also from the person that it's coming from. Because I know in the chat, someone mentioned about, what's the kind of Black man that typical Black women in the UK would date. And I think somebody in the chat mentioned that they don't think that Ginger J is the typical guy that maybe most black women in the UK would date. So, and I don't know how it is in America for someone like him, how he would fare like in a dating world there. I'm not sure. But I think also because it's not the typical dark-skinned black man saying it, and it's someone that looks very different to the typical black man that would be found saying these kinds of things on the internet, I think that also adds to the snowball effect of this video. And then also the fact that no one around him said anything and how much it blew up. I think whenever you see black men and black women shouting at each other, fighting, that also gets people's attention because it becomes really uncomfortable. Kind of like what Kojo said before. Men and women should not be arguing to that passionate degree. You know, as a man, you should not be arguing with a woman in that specific, like that hard. And as a woman, you shouldn't be arguing with a man that hard. So I think all of those things come together in a really perfect storm that has made this video sort of gain that larger than life, that larger than life sort of rotation on the internet.
Yeah, man, I definitely, I'm not surprised actually, because I think that the topic is a uniting one. It's a uniting one because obviously it's talking about black women. So it's like, and then obviously I think what adds to the extra mix is that he is, like, I agree with Precious, he's not a dark-skinned black man, okay? And I think his venom in his energy, and then obviously, yeah, his venom in energy, and then just some of the points, the stereotypical points that he made. Is that stereotypical point of take off your wig is the ender. It's the one that everyone, even if you're not the most intellectual, you know what that comment is. So it's not like it's not a thin veiled attack where it's like, oh, those who are intellectuals can understand it and be like, we have to dissect it. Nah, this is one of those comments where it's like, even if you're not the most smartest person in the room, you know what you just heard. Look, a bit of racism right there. You understand? So it's like, yeah, it's easy for everyone to have a dialogue and a conversation about it because it's so blatant, in that particular sphere as well, right? And so, yeah, for me personally, yeah, I'm not surprised it went global, to be honest. And hopefully, like I said, it'll open up more conversations and people get to see more men, because there are on like TikTok and stuff, condemning this behavior. You know what I mean? As well. So yeah, I'm not surprised, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's my answer to that, Jay. I don't know if you want to say something. Go for it.
Yeah, I'll just add to the point basically on what he looks like. There's there's a few people I've even seen in life that I know personally in my area who do look like Jay, and I think if I'm honest, they do tend to date outside their race or maybe mixed or light-skinned women. That seems to be more of a more common trend, but ultimately, as much as we can say what he looks like, I will always bring it down to how are you as a person? How do you relationship? And if you bring it back to what we were saying in the very beginning, for those that missed it, and understanding what he's also showing is a hurt that he doesn't feel respected by black women. Not to say that justifies anything, because it doesn't. We're just looking at what the origination of his pain could be. I think that is a big issue that happens in general with a lot of these guys who have this rhetoric and start at this point. And for ladies who feel like, my own people don't love me or don't find me attractive. But yeah, man. But we're here now. We have to have the conversation. So yeah, man.
I think also because in the chat, some people are saying, he finds black women attractive because he's dated them before. And I think that can also be quite dangerous because you can date somebody. That doesn't necessarily mean that you find them attractive or that you want them. It could mean, it could mean that that's what you think you should be dating, or that's all that you can find in your vicinity. And then maybe bad experiences of that make you decide to go elsewhere. But it's not like a complete catch-all evidence piece to say, yeah, this person finds this type of person attractive. But I feel like, yeah, you know, as you said, I think the bad experiences definitely affect, because I also feel like, if I'm being honest, I feel like if you really did truly love Black women, you would figure it out. Kojo has said it many a times. When he was younger, he had a certain view of Black women and certain experiences of Black women that, you know, clearly have been shared with other Black men in the world of it hasn't been great. But now Kojo is the first person to tell you, yeah, I don't know what you guys are trying to say. I'm good over here. So my thing is, if you truly do like Black women, you will find your way back. You will come around. You'll figure it out, because that's what it is, that it's there within you. But if you don't, that's also fine. No issues. But again, when we're trying to, it's almost kind of like when you feel something, or when your hurt is a hurt, if it's not shared by others, it almost makes you feel like it's not real. And I think that's where some of the vitriol comes from, of these kind of conversations being emanated on social media, because sometimes if we don't see that other people also share our hurt, we also second guess our own hurt and make it think that we must be the ones going crazy. But then that's where we have the space to cause a lot of hurt to other people, because your hurt is not another person's hurt, you know. And if you're trying to then use your hurt to paintbrush a whole community of people, all you're doing is you're replicating the cycle over and over again. So yeah, I think it's just important to really be able to see where your experience begin and where everyone else's reality or experience starts.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. I definitely feel like I will hold it. I will hold a different perspective. I can see a perspective as well. I would hold that he may. I think he originally did like Black women. You know what I mean? And I think bad experiences took him to the path of least resistance, which is that you go to where you're liked. You know. But when you hold on to that anger of them mistreating you and you don't let it go, it's bitterness creeps in. It's like a wound that never actually healed and never actually got treated. It just becomes worse and becomes infected. Very soon the arm needs, that particular spot needs to be cut off and amputated in order to save the body. But sometimes you don't deal with it quickly enough, and it infects the whole body. I think he's one of those people, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that he likes them now. I'm saying that maybe in the past he might have liked. No, I'm not saying definitely. I think he might have liked them. Do you know what I mean? And then experiences happened. And I would also say that I also understand, because again, like I said, I had both mom and dad, but also, whilst I did have the bad experiences, like I said, I had the other balance side of it was that at church, I wasn't necessarily mistreated by other Black girls. They weren't teasing me, you know what I mean? But it was at school that it would happen, which of course we spend the majority of our time. You know, in the ends as well, you know what I mean? And then remember, I moved. So it's, again, I had to have a different experience of them treating me differently to be able to bring that. Again, we're not excusing the paper. Listen, I will say you can go to jail. Whether you ignorance is not the barometer here. You will go to jail the same way that he'll be cussed out and called out. But maybe just explain the pathology. But yes, he definitely he needs to do some inner work and restorative work to look at himself. You know what I mean? So also as well, my thing is, like, you know, the amount of power that he gave that girl. I would say it's like someone who's and that's what I was saying to Japan yesterday. Someone who's clapped to you doesn't have this much power over you, you know. You know what I mean? When they're the opposite sex and they're that clap, when you get older and they're that clapped, they don't have power over you, you know. You know what I mean? Like, and that's me being probably a bit short-sighted when I say that, and a bit facetious, and probably a bit narrow-minded when I say that. But it's like someone who you consider to be clapped and you're not interested in, they can't have that kind of power over you, bro. But you probably thought she was a bit of a beautiful chick, and the fact that she's talking to him like that, it probably elevated the pain a little bit. You get the ones there, fam. It elevated the pain a little bit. So yeah, that's my thought on that. So yes, Fresh, let's go for it.
I will say, I think for me, and that's why I said it's not like a catch or be all kind of evidence, right? Also, I feel like there's a difference between liking someone and finding them attractive. So I don't think that he doesn't find black women attractive. I do think he does find black women attractive. Now, whether or not he likes black women is a different conversation. And that's what I mean, is that like, I can definitely see that he probably does find black women attractive, but I don't know if he likes them. And I think that can start quite early. Even if you date black women, you don't necessarily like black women. And that can be the truth. And that's not to say that he didn't at some point like black women. I don't know his history, so I can't exactly say that that's the case. But it was just me saying, like, it's not him dating black women is not evidence to say that he did like black women at some point. That's what I mean. But I feel like, yeah, I feel like he's attracted to them. I don't think he likes them. I don't know when that started. But I can imagine, yeah, some of the past experiences with black women definitely caused that. And I agree with you, Kojo. If you don't have a juxtaposition to compare with, there isn't space for growth. And there isn't space for changing your mind if you don't also have equally good experiences with black women that you can say, how are she? However, you know, I have actually had really great experiences with black women here. So maybe it's just the kind of black women rather than black women as a whole. So if you haven't had that juxtaposition and that comparison, it can be very easy to sort of run with a specific narrative and have that be the end all be all for you.
Let me add to that as well, actually. I was just thinking. So I got to go as well. What's up, JR? Even what Precious just said, a type, I think that's most of our issues, right? It's the type of woman, regardless of whatever race, that we are continuously picking. Because you can go to another race, pick the same type of woman, but obviously the different nuances there means that it may hit differently. One, because you know that who you're not with, which is an issue, by the way. But God, look what Kojo's doing, everyone. He's just showing off his muscles and everything else. Look at him. He's doing it on purpose, bro. What's going on, bro? But yeah. But I think for context of Ginga, he grew up in the hood, he grew up in the ends. So there is a type of person you're going to be around. There's a type of person that maybe he himself even used to be. And these are some of the conversations that we do need to have. Obviously, I don't know him personally. I don't even know the relationships that he's talking about. All we know that he was cheated while he was in prison. It doesn't mean he was even a healthy partner in the first place, right? But the only bit that he wants to deal with is the pain of being cheated or disappointed, or like Kojo said in the beginning, rejected, abandoned, which is a whole nother issue. But hey, we need to have these conversations, man. So I'm happy that all of us here, all family anyway, but all able to have a healthy and mature conversation. But yeah, man, I gotta go. My daughter's out here playing, so I gotta run. But I'll be listening in. If anyone says anything mad, I'll quickly jump back in. But I love everyone, man.
Thank you, Jay. Life of Realities. You joined us a bit late, but because we're about to finish. But yes, talk to us, Life of Realities. What are you saying?
Yo, it's all good, bro. Just in the comments, just saw the thing go live, but I can't stop too much either. Got a PhD party to go to. Sister just became a doctor.
Hey,
so,
come on, celebration.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so I initially saw the clip. I wasn't initially surprised because on that platform and the type of content they do, this is the type of stuff that they specialize in. They take a sample or a clip and they hope it goes viral and does numbers. But it's masked as being essential conversations for the Black community and our age group and things like that, or younger even. Now his crash out, there isn't a justification for it because as a man, first of all, you have to master your emotions. You have to be in control and assess your surroundings. So when I first saw the clip and saw what he was saying, yeah, of course, the visceral reaction is raw. He's wilding out. He's crashing out. Like he's moving mad. And then it wasn't until I was told to watch the entire video, didn't even bother to do that because I don't want to watch the platform. But I did check out quite a bit of it, and I saw the lead up to it, and then I also saw the video that you posted afterwards where he was like he was backstage. He walked off and he was going nuts off the stage. So my perspective actually is that he, based on seeing the like both before and after, as well as that clip, he has a mother wound, which is fairly deep. Because one of the things he said was, why am I going to respect or like black women and their behaviors when my mum was moving mad? So he attributes his rage and anger directly to the relationship that he has with his mum. And as a consequence of that, which is what happens in most cases with a parental wound like that, is you tend to take it out on the people that remind you of that person. So in this context, he's just going based on the optics, like any black woman that he sees, he instantly has an impression of her that is unfavorable. Then when he gets to add his experiences personally through dating and all the rest of it, whatever his story is, got cheated on, this, that, the other. Okay, like you put all that together and it's just led to him raging and not being able to deal with his emotions properly. So he's a menace, no doubt about it. Until he is able to control himself in conversations, articulate himself, communicate effectively, listen, then he will always be off kilt, like he will always be unstable. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, yeah, there was some provocation there, because what happened was, as soon as he revealed that he's in a relationship with an Indian girl, then the black women then started to, on the panel, started to then attack his dating preference. So then he was put in a defensive position where he has to justify why he's choosing to date. Now, instead of is choosing to date the Indian girl. Now, instead of actually articulating it calmly throughout the entire situation, which might have been tough because it was a bit of a pile-on, but yeah, he snapped. And that's where I hold him fully accountable as well. Because if you see these people are trying to provoke you, yeah, you need to have done your research. Like, this is the type of conversation they have. Every conversation they have, or every week, or whenever it's filmed, is designed to have them clashing and raising voices and talking over each other and all these different things. And from what I understand, it was his first appearance on there. So China, who's usually the more calmer, level-headed and more articulate one, he still has the same views as Ginger, but he doesn't crash out like that. He debates, yeah? Because at the end of the day, everybody's entitled to have their own dating preferences, but that doesn't mean you have to marginalize or malign an entire community because of it. Yeah, what happened to you, or how you're perceived in the dating market? I just from seeing it, I know it must have been challenging. And if we're real about it, like he's not someone that you may know a few people that are Ginger, but you don't know anyone that is. You don't know many people that have that particular appearance that he has. So he's probably had to deal with a lot of rejection, a lot of struggle, not necessarily being considered attractive in and how he's chosen to internalize it has allowed it to manifest into a crash out. So yeah, it's not justifiable at all, but there is more context to it. The bottom line is he has to be accountable for how he shows up. And especially if you're going on a platform that's going to be streamed and can go viral and all the rest of it, that makes it even more an onus upon yourself to carry yourself a certain way. Because that, once you put that on the internet, that's out there forever. Like, yeah, you may have done some time away, but now you're back out and you're trying to rebuild yourself. It's not a good look to have your identity attached to how you crashed out at that moment. So yeah, that's my initial thoughts.
Good thoughts, man. You know what I mean? Good thoughts. And I love that, because I think it's powerful to have that the way you've broken it down. I think it's like I said I understand that we all crash out, but when we crash out a lot of times, can reveal a lot of times what our thought process, what's really going on in our mind. You know what I'm saying to you? So I think there's a lot of work he needs to be doing. Yes, he went to jail. I can tell you, I actually watched a video. He went to jail. I think he went to jail because, if I remember correctly, the video, they went to do something to scare another man, and they were gonna harm him. Not harm. They said they want to harm him, whatever. But then someone threw a grenade, so he got done up on terrorism act. Yeah, end up in prison. So I don't know if he was on drugs already before that point. It might have been, but they went to terrorize a guy, and then someone threw the grenade. They got done for terrorism act, and he's in jail 11 years. Yep, it'd be like that. So yeah, it wasn't a normal gig. Yeah, go for it.
No, I guess I was just thinking is that's almost like a RICO/terrorism thing, right? Or an accessory.
He might. I didn't get to see because I didn't watch that part. He might have been doing drugs before that again. I think he was doing some stuff before that as well. So that obviously included into the character up. You know what I mean? So and of course it's his people that were doing it. So it's not like he wasn't there. He was there, but he just wasn't the one that threw the grenade. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's even why he needs to tread more carefully, though, isn't it? Because if he spent so much time away, surely he should be focused on rebuilding his life now that he's out. You see what I'm saying? And by coming out this way and on this platform, which could have been an opportunity to show he's, you know, obviously what he went away for isn't to do with this, but it would have showed some level of that he's reformed and that he's able to function in society and have conversations and all these different things. Imagine, like, you're doing more than a decade in the pen, yeah. The dating market's changed, life has changed, you know, technology's changed, everything's changed. Nothing is like how it was, you know, in over 10 years ago. So he had the opportunity to establish himself and articulate himself a lot better. I'm sure if he presented himself and his dating preferences or whatever in a way China may have done it, even though China is a provocateur himself, he doesn't crash out, he doesn't rage, doesn't, you know, fly off the handle like that. Maybe King Richard's does sometimes, but still, in his situation, he needs to be mindful of his position right now. He's trying to reform himself and you know, get back into society and everything. Alienating a whole community like that, yeah, it's not smart at all. So I gotta hold his feet to the fire 100%. I'm not saying that the girls were right to provoke him, because I definitely don't agree with none of that either, but we're not talking about them, we're talking about him crashing up. He has to be more thick-skinned. Like, you can't just let people get under his skin like that. And that temper it could have contributed to why he went inside in the first place. You see what I'm saying? So you got to show a lot more composure, more poise as a man out here in society these days than to go out like that.
I think there's also a lot of like trauma there as well. Like, you know, as you said, 11 years is a long time. Don't know how old he was when he went into jail, but you know, over a decade of your life in prison, you know, like how you said, Jay, like it's everything changes. You know, society changes, the way things are viewed change, and you know, then also thinking about he would have been in prison during COVID times. Like, there's a lot of instability, there's a lot of danger around in those kind of situations, and I just feel like when you come out of prison after being in prison for such a long time, there's an adjustment that needs to happen when you're going back into the community. And you know, it isn't just that, oh, you need an adjustment because of criminality. There's also a social adjustment, there's an emotional adjustment, there's a psychological adjustment, and being able to process your emotions and being able to process your trauma in other ways apart from anger is really important. You know, because yeah, it looks like anger, it looks like a crash out, but could bet a lot of money that there's a whole lot of different emotions going underneath that display of anger. And that really and truly, it probably wasn't even anger that he was experiencing. It might have just been sadness, and it might have been, you know, feeling anxious. Like there's a lot of things going on. So I think, yeah, when there is an adjustment, there isn't someone isn't taught how to process difficult emotions in real time, it comes out looking like that. And yeah, it's just difficult because you can't control who's going to try and push your buttons and who's going to push you into emotions that you haven't really dealt with yet. So yeah, but there definitely needs to be an adjustment because you can't do those things regardless of whether there was a camera there or not. That behavior is just something you just can't be doing.
Exactly. And I definitely agree with you, Precious, on all of that. Because then you start to think, okay, you know, and I hate this, but there will be people that do this. They will see the crash out. They'll look into his backstory. They'll see the trauma wound. They'll see the jail time. They'll see all these different things. Then it'll be like, right, like man's a danger in private probably, you know, like he'd go even safe with him if they have an argument and things like that. They'll take it there. And it's unfortunate, but you know, when you kind of present yourself in a certain way, you're going to get judged. You're going to get looked at. And it's just the way it is these days. You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't a good look at all for him going forward. I don't know how long it's going to take for him to get therapy and or even get through the public debacle about it. You know, the public spectacle of him now being associated with the crash out and the comments he made. It's going to be very difficult. And I'm not sure how many of those guys are his real friends or whatever, and who's going to rally around him to try and even help him get through the situation, because he may not be able to handle it all himself. But how many people will distance themselves from him based on the comments he's made? It's going to be a very big factor for him. One of the other emotions I think he probably experienced was embarrassment. Like he's trying to talk and get his point across, and you know, he might have got heated because of how embarrassed he felt, not being able to articulate himself. But again, rather than get frustrated, you either remove yourself from the situation or you confidently argue your point, debate your point. But as I said, this platform is actually about airing these type of tropes and conversations and talking points and things to get reactions. Yeah, so let's also remember that. It's not a place where you sit down and have a civilized conversation. There isn't like a tonight's conversation style format. It's much more heated and confrontational, and it's by design. And when you look at who the panelists are on this particular show, they are about being very opinionated, very animated. You can see from the little vignettes that they do and all of that. They're trying to add some spice to the thing to try and make it go viral as well and sell it. So yeah, overall, he probably regrets the decision to probably go on there. But yeah, I just don't know where he goes from here. You know, even his girl must have been quite pissed at seeing that, because why would she be confident and proud that her man, you know, is moving like that on a public platform? And that's something else he'll have to deal with. So yeah, it's very unfortunate. And yeah, like there's no escaping it. Like he has to confront his demons. He has to overcome his traumas. He has to get some anger management. Probably he has to do a lot of things. He has to do a lot of work. I think we're all agreed on that. He has to do a lot of work. And he spent 11 years inside. He may need to spend 11 more years just trying to figure out how to control everything and get back on the level.
It's crazy. You know what I mean? Well, someone asked the question, due to panelists, do you know men that don't like black women? What reasons do they give? Do other races probably disrespect the women of their own race? Yes. Do I know one? I don't really know them like them, but I've obviously encountered people that have that kind of thought process. You know what I'm saying to you? Anytime they have that thought process, I challenge it, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to stay in that place. I get that you're injured and you're hurt, but it doesn't make sense to stay in that place. And usually, like I said, most people explain it from a cult perspective. They have the same rhetoric. They're part of the same gang, and they say the same lines. So when I hear that, I just know. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I haven't really encountered them in regular days. Maybe because I don't hang around people like that. Do you know what I mean? Second thing, do other races publicly disrespect their women of their race in the UK? Can I be honest with you? Yes, they do. I listen, they do. Okay, that's why feminism exists in the first place. They do. We just don't get to see it because you don't hang around white folk. You don't hang around other races. They do the exact same thing. They're disrespectful, nasty, but we obviously have our own tropes that we work with within our own community. But I'm going to tell you this now. If you think it's only black people, it's not. Hang around with other people, other races, have a conversation with them. You'll hear the women complain about the same men that in their race do the exact same thing. They're insulting them, they're cussing them, they're mistreating them, they're mishandling them. Okay, all right. It's like black on black crime. You know what I mean? It's like black on black crime. It's like we have our own thing. It's like there's a focus on black on black crime because we're often represented. But when you go to someone like Edinburgh, you get someone like Liverpool, the crime there is not us. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we don't have the crime there, but do you know what I mean? It doesn't get put the same way. When a white person injures another white person, we don't say white on white crime. Those words instantly put a more focal point on those things. They happen in every community because there are men and women in those communities. It's not a black thing. It's actually an overall thing. But you hang around with black folk. I hang around with black folk. You know what I'm saying to you? You get around some white folk. We're into manosphere. Manosphere was with white men first before it was with black men. But all you know is black manosphere. White manosphere was with white men before it was with black men. You know what I'm saying to you? So saying if they do it publicly, yeah, go and find those manosphere pages with white men talking about how they talk about white women. They'll call them B words. They'll do this. They call them hoes. They call them this. They call them words. It's just that you're more aligned with your own community, which is understandable. You know what I'm saying to you? So I would say that.
I would say I've come across men who don't like black women. So I feel like that's a thing that happens. I think with the disrespecting black women, I think I agree with you. I think other races do the same thing with their own women. I think the tropes are different. I think the real difference between other communities and black communities though, is that other communities don't then pedestalize other races of women over their own women. And I think that is the key difference of the disrespect within the black community versus other communities, is that you might get like other communities, men from other communities saying specific stereotypical things about their women or disrespectful things, but they will never sit there and say, well, that's why I date black women over white women because, or that's why white women are this and other women are better, because you don't hear that. And I think that's the key difference as to why the vitriol in the black community feels more painful and different. And I think also there is an element of, there's a history as well. It's very nuanced. It's not the same. Like all disrespect is not the same disrespect. So I think, yes, it's not that it's a uniquely black thing. It's not, but it's nuanced. And I think also if you're within your own community and you're not part of other communities, you're not going to see what's happening over there. It's going to be out of your eyesight, just like I'm sure for other communities, our things can be out of their eyesight too, because they're not in our community, they don't understand. So yeah, I wouldn't say that it's just black, it's just the black community that experience that. I just think it's just nuanced, because I don't think other communities vote. I don't think they publicly pedestalize other women over their own women. I'm trying to remember what the other bits of the question was, because it's not on the screen anymore. What was the other bit of the question? Is there other? I think she asked something else later on. Yeah, but yeah, I think something about doing it on or what reasons did I give? Yeah, no, I agree with you, Coach. I think it's pretty much, it's a rhetoric, and with rhetoric, it's always going to be regurgitated. It might be given different words here and there, but it's pretty much the same reasons. And they're never really ever like concrete reasons. Like it's always, something happened to me when I was 14, 16, and now that's lived with me forever. And I'm like, okay, you do you, bro. But like, it's like at a certain point we have to move past our traumas. Black women get told to move past their traumas every single day. At a certain point, we have to hold people accountable and be like, okay, there needs to be an unpacking of your traumas. You can't just stay in this. You can't just stay emotionally in the same place forever and ever and think that that's all right. I think it's easier for men to do that, but it's also more dangerous. So, yeah, I just think it's not that it doesn't happen elsewhere, but it's different for us. And yeah, we love to talk about it. Black people love to talk about it. So I think that's why it's just always in our face compared to other groups.
Yeah. Okay.
Also-
So let me have a quick crack at it. The question about so do we see this happening with other ethnicities and all of that? Like to publicly disrespect their women and whatever. No, we don't see podcasts specifically saying, why do you not like Chinese women, Chinese men? Why do you not, we don't see Indian men on a platform saying, well, why don't you like your women? Or on the other hand, we don't see platforms saying, seeing these Indian women saying, oh, well, these Indian men, and they're low vibrational, they got no job, they got nothing. There's no podcast like that over here. But again, it's the proximity, just like Kojo and Precious was saying. Like, because we have a closer proximity to the Black community, and these are tropes and talking points in our community, we see it more. And don't forget the algorithm plays a part in that as well. Once you watch a few of these things, then they start popping up more and more. But no, you definitely don't see people trashing their own people, ethnicities trashing their own people publicly in the same way. Now, do I know Black men that don't like Black women? I do know someone, so I have a friend who has a son who does not date Black women. And the reason he gave for that, he's not my friend, right? Like, the reason why that he gave for that is because of his relationship with his mum, like my friend, right? So I know them in the gym circles. They're both bodybuilders, a mother and son, both bodybuilders. And basically, the mother has been hard on him. She's been a single mum for a long time with him, but she actually has a very hard, stern way of parenting. And I don't think she was even aware of how much it damaged his perception or preferences going forward of who he would like to partner with when he gets to an adult age, right? So I've heard him boast, actually, publicly around whoever is present. He'll say something like, yeah, like, I've got my nice white coffee, just like I like my women, things like that. And I'm looking, I'll give him crazy face and I'll be like, rah. I'm thinking to myself, this guy's lost. But at the same time, I've known his mum since probably 13, 14 years. And I know how hard she is. So there is a level of, I won't say compassion or understanding, but it's kind of a mix of both. So I can kind of see, based on his upbringing, how it would affect his dating choices. Definitely don't agree with it, because ultimately he's a Black guy himself. But he definitely only dates white women. He feels confident dating white women. He feels he's more attracted to white women, and they are more attractive to him as well. So he has a mother wound, again, another person with a mother wound. And rather than be able to probably sit down with his mum and have therapy, they are very close. But there's been some damage done that they would definitely need to fix before he can, in my opinion, be taken seriously about his dating choices and what he's talking about. And on the other hand, he also is not someone that is desirable by most Black women. Like, I know Black women who have seen him in magazines, posters, billboards, all these different things. And I've been in group chats where they've gone, oh, look at this guy, and they're mocking the way he looks. They don't know him, They're just looking at him saying, hey, he's ugly, he's got big muscles, but he's not nice, and this, da, 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 da. And that's probably what he's used to hearing. So again, that's obviously going to affect his feelings about dating and pouring into a relationship with a black woman, because he doesn't feel like they even are attracted to him either. So yes, I kind of have seen that. It's only him though. I have a wide circle of friends and he's an anomaly, but I have seen it. And it wouldn't surprise me if there are some people who may harbor those kind of similar views, similar mother wounds, but they mask it or they don't openly discuss it as much. Because we have grown up in a Western society, even if we still stay very close to our culture, our heritage, and we're still growing up in a Western society in the UK. So there are times where you're going to be around different cultures and ethnicities. But one thing's for sure is that the black community have created their own lane, their own avenue to discuss these particular divisive topics. And you don't really see that in other spaces.
Yeah, and you know what? It's also interesting because I think on this scenario, the key difference here is, as well, is that white supremacy is done a number on us, right? So you have to understand, we are not, we don't have. Okay, so when I say it's like, there is no benefit of a white person, an Indian person, and I'm being very careful when I say Indian because even they have a caste system, so you can't even use the same thing. There is no benefit of a Chinese person or Asian person, sorry, an Asian person saying, I'd rather date a black woman. We're the bottom of the totem pole. We are not the closest thing to white supremacy. So you're never going to hear them say that because it actually has no benefit. You know what I'm saying to you? It's like saying to somebody, I upgraded and the girl looks more ugly than your girl. Where's the benefit? So you won't hear the other races saying necessarily, yes, I'll go ahead and date black women. Yeah, because then there's no, we're at the bottom of the totem pole. But you know what you will hear though? It's some white woman coming out simply because of sexualizing black men, right? In terms of how white men feel about black men, and say, actually, I'll tell you what, we do date black men. And that pisses off white men. That's about as much as you're going to hear. And even they won't publicly go on their podcast again, because again, that is there is levels to where we put ourselves in there's levels in the social economical table. You know what I'm saying to you? So yeah, you'll see the bottom people trying to say they'll date someone else, someone race, because that actually gives them a leg up. You know what I mean? You're at the bottom and you got a leg up. So it's from that perspective, that's why you probably don't necessarily hear those specific things. But like I said, when it comes to them cussing each other out, they cuss each other out, man. You know what I mean? They cuss each other out all the time. It's just don't use the same tropes that we have. But that's like I keep saying, like we're in the UK, but we have terms like black on black crime. Why? Why do we have that term?
To be fair, they have the same term in America as well.
Exactly, same thing, right? But why do they have that black on black crime? Why is it just crime? Do white people not take each other out?
Why don't they have white on white crime, Indian on Indian, brown on brown crime? Yeah.
No,
they don't.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It goes back to the idea that there is a difference in how it's perceived within the black community versus how it's perceived in other communities. But just a side note, because I can see the conversation happening in the chat, and I'm just like, facts. Somebody in the chat is saying that like interracial relationships and marriages are more common in the UK, and that's not true, because in the US 19% of all marriages are interracial, not 3%. So just wanted to clear that. It's not more common in the UK. The UK is like less than 1/3 of America when it comes to the amount of people that are in America. So it's not an apples to apples comparison, but America is much more of a melting pot than the UK is, and there's much more interracial marriages and relationships in America than there is in the UK. The UK is a bit more segregated in that aspect of the majority of different ethnic groups are marrying within their own ethnic groups. So yeah, just to clarify that.
Yeah. I'll just add to that. Like the US has a population of over 330 plus million people, right? UK has a population around 77, 78 million. So to compare a 3% in the UK to a 3% in the US is completely different. But you also have to factor in that the island or the United Kingdom is very tiny. London, England is a melting pot, but England itself is very small compared to America. So what's happened is when crimes are committed by ethnic minorities, the Anglo, I would call them Saxon people, they've decided to categorize it and inflate those numbers to make it seem as if it's an epidemic. But they don't like to publicize often the fact that, you know, the highest cases of drug deaths, drug use in the entire United Kingdom is actually Scotland, and it always has been. I think they're down to the lowest numbers now that they've been in over 20 plus years, but it's still the highest of any parts of Europe. Yeah, and Scotland is even smaller than England. So yeah, it's a very skewed perception and skewed stats that are put out there. But make no bones about it, black on black crime, the term itself is a bit misleading, but it does happen. You know, people where I live, where I grew up, people used to see us black people as the easier target, because we are less likely to be believed if we go to the feds, and we are less likely to go to the feds because we may implicate ourselves in something or know people that are in something already. So we were the easy target. You know, you look like me, so I can do it to you and you ain't going to say nothing type of mentality, right? So, but even still, it doesn't happen in higher numbers. Then you see, you know, there's people in their 50s, 60s still trying to rob jewelry stores and pickpocket and go and rob your local bakery and all these different things. They just highlight black people because it's a way to create a racial narrative, which they love to propagate here, but it doesn't actually bear fruit, bear truth when you look at crime as a whole. Now, after saying that, I'll just land my plane here. There are plenty of upstanding, educated, well-to-do, smart, creative black people that far outweigh people like Ginge. Not trying to knock him or anything. His struggle was his struggle, but there are also people like him in society too. The problem is when those people do step off the tightrope and slip or fall, they have to try and rehabilitate to keep up with where everyone else is, where the majority is. Yeah, and you're not going to do it by going on platforms where you're further degrading yourself or making a spectacle of yourself over issues that you know, there's no quick fix, there's no wrong or right answer. Your preference is your preference. So maybe we need to just like stay focused on trying to have cohesive communication that builds stronger bonds and changes the perception of the black and black narrative, and black men and black women not liking each other and all these different things. Need to mend those fences, need to build those bridges. There's no point just coming on platforms talking and beefing and bickering about it. Like, make the steps to make progress. That's what we need to be doing. Can't be having the same conversations 10 years, 20 years, and there's no progress. You know, at times it does seem like it's getting worse with the advent of social media, but we need to be trying to do things constructively now, because we've got the intelligence to do it, but we need to show that, we need to demonstrate it.
I'm gonna lie. I think we have someone called Teacher who wants to come on to share his perspective. So, hello, Teacher.
Hello.
Hello, Captain.
Kitchen, sir. Like the kitchen.
It is a nice kitchen indeed.
Good evening. Good evening. Hold on, let me see there. Right. My camera stay there. Can you see me?
Don't worry, you good, man. Yeah, we see you, brother. You thing, man.
First of all, Kojo, good show. I saw your breakdown of the pathology yesterday. Very, very interesting. So what I did some background on Jay, and also went over the video again. And I noticed some interesting things I'd like to share with you. So some timestamps. Hold on. Give me that chair, it's making too much noise. Okay.
You're good, brother. We like the breakdown. He's got a full breakdown to go. We like it.
Okay. So let me start with now. 1921. He says his choice is not to date black women. Yeah. Now at this stage, he was very calm. He gave his responses, and it appeared that the women were on board as to his responses. Yeah. And at 21:55, he said he preferred Asian women. Now, at that point, he was very, very lucid, very calm, you know, and he gave his reasons. You know, he even went so far as saying it, yeah, which is fair enough. Then 28, he was asked by China, tell us about your wife. Yeah. And so he was asking a question, and at that time he was interrupted, but he even said to the girls, listen, they've asked me about my experience. I'm telling you about my experience. 29:30, he didn't want to say that he's been cheated on by black women. And this was the first time they said, well, could it be something about you? What have you done? Again, they put him on the defensive. I also noticed that 31:19 was the first time we saw some sort of aggression when he told him to shut up. And you could see the response like, whoa, that was the first time he lost his cool.
That's the lowest. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At 36:53, because China was explaining about his experiences as well, he called it. He said, that's why I don't like these topics, because I know how it ends up. So he had the foresight to see where this was going, because if you've seen previous show before, they have viral moments, and he's been caught up in one of those moments before. Yeah, where he's lost it on the show. And then on 41:17, when he's talking about being in prison, and he something which is really, it can be quite offensive. He said, for his prison sentence, he would have been celebrated by black women. Yeah. Now, and one of the women said, really, where I come from, we don't tolerate that. So what I'm trying to say here, there was a time where he was being very calm, he got drawn out. And in fact, if you see the beginning of the show, when they first broached the topic, they went for King Richard's, because King Richard's been known to date outside his race. Yeah. They dealt with him, then they moved on. Yeah. And at each stage, King Richard saying, how can we not give him the same energy you're giving me? But you know what? That wasn't the play. That wasn't the play. They knew this brother, yeah. They know his temperament. China knows a bit more than the others, because you've noticed Gabe says, what are you getting inside for? They said, I'm not on the show. I believe China knew. Yeah.
He did, because China's already interviewed him in 2024. Go for it.
There you go. Yeah. China knows his temperament. Yeah. And even when he said, look, this is my preference, they were okay with that. But then China says, tell us about the woman. Why do you know about the woman for? He's told that's his preference. Respect that. But if you know the temperament of your guy, you know what could possibly trigger him. It's no surprise that it went that way. And as you alluded to earlier, nobody stepped in to hold him back. Now, on previous episodes, when guys have lost it, men have jumped in, stopped it. Nobody went to jump in. Now, I have a conclusion. It's either two, because they think he's too violent, he might switch it on them, or B, they saw it as a good viral moment. So I'll leave it to you guys. What do you think?
Well, first of all, teacher, we appreciate you, man. Listen, I was ready to have the stand. I went to the timestamp, so if you needed it, I was gonna play it for you, bro. Because I was on it. The video was there. But yeah, no, I bro, everything you said, I'm in alignment with, bro. And because yes, especially the King Richard's part, King Richards was trying to say to them like, you're not doing them dirty like how you do me normally dirty. Yeah. You know what I'm saying to you, right? And so he was actually saying that the entire time. And so they were pushing, because actually before that, and the point about asking about what the woman did, Lois was actually the first one that was saying it, but she kept on getting drowned out by another girl or another person saying it. So then China then came up to her and said, okay, well then tell us about your girl after like 40 minutes. Like, tell us about your girl, right? Yeah. Which then he does. That's when he gets drawn out officially, because now he's explaining it. He then uses the dogma, and that's where he gets into trouble. So they were trying to draw him up for time. I can't lie to you. They were trying to at least get an answer from him. Do you know what I mean? That was deep.
Because China saw the play. Remember, he was in the same position, but he reined it back. But because he knows what his guy is like, and this is first time on that show, do your due diligence. This is what the show creates. It creates those moments. You know, and the thing is, I did a bit of background about the guy. He he doesn't dislike black women, but because of his experiences, that's his choice. You have to respect his choice, his preference. There's nothing wrong with that. Why do I have to justify my preference to you? It is what it is. You either accept it or you don't. But they kept digging him because they knew that if you dig him hard enough, he will explode like this. You know, because if you check into him, he's a comedian. He's a very funny guy. He moves in our circles. He's very comfortable in the hood. If you look into his background, he has lived in areas where he's amongst black people. So why are we trying to make an issue that he has a problem with black people? He doesn't. What he has an issue with is some characteristics exhibited by certain types of black women. Yeah. And I even saw an episode where he was talking, another show, and he's talking about an experience he had in the O2 where somebody behind the bar was very rude to him and how he dealt with that. Yeah. And it's quite interesting. He said, look, every time I've been polite, blah, blah, blah. But the moment she railed up, and he's like, he matched that energy, now he's seen as being aggressive. And you've got to understand, he's been incarcerated for a long period of time. When he's come out, things have changed. And he's had to come to that very quickly. To come to terms with that very quickly. And I think, in all honesty, he's navigated that very well. But this was just a moment where he didn't actually do his due diligence, or he didn't read the room to say, you know what, I've answered the questions, I'm done. So that's why I'm in that. But you know what, keep doing your thing, Kojo, because I like your teams, yeah?
I appreciate it, teacher. No, this is it's good because I think you're adding to the nuance of the conversation we have to look at, right? If we were to take away some of the other aspects of it and focus on some of just the behaviors in terms of between men and women, and in those dynamics. And like I said, I could have understood more of this. I could have understood, because obviously when it gets to conversations, because the conversation specifically to do with black women and dating them, right? If the conversation, let's say, had been maybe something else, let's say they were talking about money, and then people stood up and they got into a shouting match, right? I could have been like, you know what, bro? I definitely understand you saying, oh, girl's cussing you out, or she's saying things about you, bro. I'm backing you, bro. I get it, man. Because sometimes they just be winding you up. Because the subject's obviously about dating black women, they were wanting an answer from him. He could have still won this thing. I can't lie to you. He could have still won this, because had he just stayed calm and said, listen, actually, I will be honest with you, here are the qualities that I have. But the problem that we have with what Ginger's answer is, though, is that the qualities of why he chose the other woman is in comparison. And that's where people get, because if a black woman said to me, you know the reason why I'm dating a white man? It's because he's not as loud as a black man. He's respectful. He's not as disrespectful as the black man. Yeah, I'm gonna be annoyed at you too, because why is it that your reason for dating outwardly is in relation as a comparison, rather than just saying, actually no, it seems that I had options. This white man came to me and then I started dating him. So that's where I had an issue with Ginger. I don't have an issue of you dating outside your race, but if you tell me that your issue is because this girl has her natural hair over thingy, I'm like, okay, sir, there's natural hair girls out here. There's natural girls out there. Not everyone wears natural hair, but there's natural girls out here. I prefer natural. I prefer no makeup. But listen, it's not gonna be a thing where I'm gonna go now to white women or to Indian women. No, and I'm not gonna compare them either, because what I like is what I like. So that's where I had an issue with Ginger in that space. Like, you got caught up, yes, you got drawn out, yes, but you still had all the power. And then when she said, "I don't care," it's also when he just lost it. Once she said, "I don't care, I don't give a shit."
Yeah,
I don't even say anything. Teach, go for it.
Yeah, and also when she said, he goes, this is the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, he could have said, you know what, and therefore I stick to my preference, and just killed it like that. But it's also, it almost seems like he's trying to get validation from the very people he disapproves.
Go on, sir. I'm listening.
Yeah. So, for example, there was one lady in the asking him a question. Yeah, he didn't need to be rude to her, as you said in your thing, because she wasn't showing that energy. But when he started to shut up, I'm not important anymore. I'm like, whoa! Now they've taken you out of your state where you can just be measured. Because remember, China was in the same situation, but look how he handled it, because he's been here before, where he's lost it on screen. He's been here before, and even while the show was going on, apparently they'll say he's still shouting in the background. So now you move into a situation where you're in disagreement. Now there's genuine fear: is it going to spill off outside the studio? And he's got to be very careful because of his background and his criminal record. People can now start making other things about it, because as he said, if you check into him, what he went in for is very serious. He's a serious guy. He's a very serious guy. Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why the guys didn't want to really jump in and like take side, and I understand that. Yeah, but he should have done his due diligence. He should have taken the lead from China. China could have said, "Brother, it's okay, cool," and that's it. Because there was even a time where one of the girls says, I prefer black men, but I would consider a white man. So look how she handled it.
Yeah.
You see that? She didn't have to justify that. So why should you have to justify it? You've said your preference. You said the things you like about her. Leave it like that.
But I think that goes to what I was saying before about when your hurt isn't seen by other people, it leaves you in a position where you feel as though it isn't real, or it's not being taken into consideration. Like if for example, someone's saying, okay, this is my preference, and you don't have somebody's okay with other people not necessarily agreeing with it, or they don't necessarily feel the need to justify it, then that's a different conversation. But a lot of the times, if your preference is out of hurt and out of bad prior experiences, when that hurt is not validated or acknowledged by other people, that's where you get those kind of conversations. Or do you see my point now of wanting to get the validation from the people who caused the hurt? Because then it feels like, okay, now it's a real thing, rather than it just being a me thing or my perception. And I think that's what happens when you've been pushed out of that measured place, is now you're acting out of that hurt and you're within that realm of it, and it becomes a bigger thing, rather than trying to move mindfully of like acknowledging within yourself, like, I know this could come out, this is a preference of mine, this comes out of whatever, I don't need to necessarily go into that right now, so I'm going to maneuver around this in a way that means that I don't have to be pushed out of myself. But sometimes people push and you fall victim to that push, and then you fall into that wanting that hurt to be validated in a way.
But Precious, in response to that, which is a good point, what I would say is that it's funny how when he was given his own reasons for his preferences, they were quick to mention his mum. They're quick to say, so what Asian girls don't behave a certain way. Why are you going there? You see what I'm saying now? And a more skillful person in front of the camera said, you know what, I understand the way you feel, but it's my preference. You might be my preference. He would have drawn it back to that. He did try to do it like that, but I think he got too emotionally involved with your mum does this. And he at one time he says, that's why I don't like that behavior of my mother. You see what I'm saying now? So again, it's with more skill in front of the camera, he'll be able to navigate himself better when these questions come about. Because as you said before, host, he's had this conversation hundreds of times. I believe he has had this conversation hundreds of times. Just that in a scenario like that, which is quite heated, he probably just got caught out. I mean, imagine having to appeal to the audience, to listen to him. Listen, this is the reason why. And then they're just like, yeah, well, you've wild out, my man. We can't hear what you have to say after that. So it's a teachable moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think he will learn from this. I
agree. But again, I think it still, I feel like it still goes back to it of, you can have that conversation multiple times, but when somebody is forcing you to unpack it, that's when you fall into minefields. Because when we see people having these conversations, a lot of the times they're not having conversations with people who are going to push back, or who are going to keep prodding or keep saying, no, but explain that to me, unpack that for me, tell me where that comes from, why. And I don't think Bkchat is the place to do that.
Yeah. Do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence.
Again, yeah. But again, like if you're in that situation and you could have a conversation 100 times, but you're having the conversation in a very similar way. So for you, it feels like, yeah, I can handle this conversation. I can handle this topic. And then you come onto a platform where people are saying, no, we want to unpack this. And it's also important to look at who is he having the conversation with beforehand. Was he having it with black women? Probably not. Black women are going to want to unpack why it is that this is a preference for you. Not all black women, but black women on this show are going to want to unpack that. And if then you've mentioned my mum, which clearly is a sore spot for him, now you've triggered an emotional response. Now I've entered a minefield. Now I'm acting out of hurt. And now any measured response that I could have done or any media training I would have is out the window now, because I've never actually been in this situation before. I think the reality is he had never been in a situation like this before. And that is the benefit of it, because they kind of, to your point, teacher, they knew that. They knew that he'd never been in a situation like this before, so it's gonna be a big thing. But he's never in that situation before, so I don't even expect him to know how to media train and medium, mind trick himself out of it, because he's never had to be questioned and had to unpack, okay, but why is this my preference? And I think the majority of people who have preferences have never had to do that. I think the majority of people who have preferences, if they ever had to do that, would probably react not in the same way, but in a heated way, especially if there's hurt behind those preferences as well, so. But yeah, I agree with you. I think there definitely was better ways for him to have handled that. He clearly was not prepared. He didn't do the due diligence that he needed to do to be on that show. And maybe, if he ever does return to the show, he's learned from the situation now, and he'll be able to address things in a very different way moving forward.
And also, Precious, as well, let's be very clear here. There were clearly other men on the show who shared the same viewpoint, but didn't exhibit the same way.
Yeah, because it's practice. They've been there before.
They've learned. Yeah, they've learned.
Yeah. So, and I think, and that's why I'm like, for me, it's not ever going to be, and that's why I'm not surprised that in that backstage video that nobody really stepped in, because the majority of them agreed. And I think sometimes when you're in a group and those group dynamics, sometimes you take cover in the person who's willing to say the things that you aren't willing to say. So it makes so it means that you are less likely to jump in and stop things, because you're like, actually let him run it off a little bit, and then when it becomes a bit too crazy, then we'll step in. Unfortunately, that was just the reality of the situation, and it's an unfortunate thing, I guess.
And also one other thing I'd add as well. Sorry, one other thing is again in those manosphere conversations, when it does go a bit left, the first thing they go for is your mum or some female member of your family. He should have anticipated that.
You both touched on some very important points, right? Now, at the moment, anyone mentions your mum, especially, even if there's a mother wound or not, you will get defensive about your mum, because she's one of the most important influences and people in your life, and always will be, right? So it's a very triggering thing to do, to say, well, what about your mum? The other thing is, which I think you highlighted, teacher, is China was the one that asked the question. Now, by asking this question, he deliberately evoked comparison, right? So when he said, so tell us about your girl then, right? So now you're expecting Ginga to list off the qualities that he finds attractive about his girl, and you're going to shoot them down one by one. And also use that as a comparison to black women. Oh, well, black women do that as well, so that doesn't justify your preference. Okay, well, black women do this as well, so that doesn't justify your preference either. So you're immediately dismissing his point of view. And then the other thing that he actually did say was, when the lady, I use the term loosely, when she said, well, I don't give a crap, I don't care. So his response was, so why are you asking me the question then? If you don't care about my responses and my answers, why are you asking the question? So that shows you that there's a level of provoking, but still, his manifestation of anger is unregulated, and that's what's put him in this space where he is. Yeah. So as much as all of that was going on,
he hasn't been challenged this scenario before, because when he said the way asking the question, he could just did it there.
Hold on, teach. Well, he hasn't finished.
So no, you're right. He hasn't been in this situation before, and as you said previously, and I also said a while back, the world has changed since he's been away, right? The relationship space, dating space, a lot of changes there, technology, the stuff that we do every day, everything's a new world to him right now. He's been out for a little bit, but obviously spending that much time away, there will be some deficiency, discrepancy, however you want to call it. There's missed time. Now, when he's come into a space like this, like he's a comedian now trying to promote his business, go viral, whatever he's trying to do. But ultimately, the conversation topic is a triggering one, not only for the females in attendance and who watch it, or you know, are using social media, but it's also a triggering conversation for people with a similar disposition as him, where you may have a view of who your preference is, and you want to feel validated, even if your preference isn't what people co-sign or agree with. You're still entitled to have your preference. So I think it was definitely an attempt to draw out more of a response. I think the guys that were there sat back and watched, because like Precious said, when someone's speaking what you're thinking, you're just going to let them go along with it, so you don't have to do it. And then when he crashes out, you know, they're not going to restrain him, because at the end of the day, as much as he may have said what they're thinking, his temperament and the way he was moving was possibly a threat. You know, he was elevated, and whereas most people in attendance weren't, they were kind of making light of the situation. Now, I know we've mentioned him a few times, but King Richards has a platform where he has even worked with people who co-sign his rhetoric as well, Pearly Things and a few other people. So dating preferences has been a conversation for some of these panelists for a long time, and asking Ginger to kind of get up to speed, media train, as Precious said, be eloquent in how you articulate yourself on the spot. It was not going to happen. Like, there's no way it was going to happen. So they knew he was possibly a ticking time bomb, and that's what's led to this viral moment. But the onus is still on him to show up even more so than he ever has done, because of the adversity he now faces trying to create a new life for himself going forward. And I don't think he's done himself any favors with that.
Oh, just to take up on that last point, do you think it's an adversity or a teachable moment?
I think rehabilitation is something that is very difficult. And I think that a teachable moment, I think it's more than a moment. I think it's something that he's obviously got internal feelings about and has held them for a long time, which has shaped his worldview, views on dating and things like that. It's going to take a long time to unpack all of this. And as you've rightly said, this isn't the platform for that. He needs to actually go and seek, you know, the ability to go and sit down and have confidential conversations and get all of this out of his system, rather than bottle it up so they manifest in rage when he feels pressed.
Because I saw him on another show, don't want to mention the name now, but he did say he has received help for this with regards to his mother. So I believe he acknowledged what pain is there. And I mean, he's only been out for 18 months, my understanding is, don't quote me on that, but 18 months. And in that space, he's carved out a career whereby he's reinvented himself. Remember, he was an extremely violent man. He'd now seen him as a funny man, and people do want to see him. But at this moment, I think he can capitalize it to show people that, listen, brother, I was out of the picture for a long while. This is what happens. I've learned now. I'm up to speed. I think he can switch this. I really think he can switch this, because I don't believe he's going to retract what he said, but I believe the way he said it, he'll think twice. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting, because I think, like I said, I do understand the pressures of being triggered, right? Like, I think if you're on TikTok long enough, it's a very similar environment to Bkchat, but maybe even worse, right? Like, you can go on TikTok and you can go into a space, and I've had it so many times. I can go into a space where either it could be about God, it can be about relationships, and it can be a man or a woman, right? I've encountered more women because they're having more relationship talks, but there are some men as well who are doing this as well. And you go into the space, yeah, and they'll ask a question like, do black men defend black women? All right, cool. You come up on the panel and you say, I believe they do. Okay, tell us why. You start talking. Mute! You start talking. Oh, I don't believe that, because you get cut off to that. And let me tell you this now. After about, before you realize it, right? You get some, and listen, there are some very intellectual people who are well read on TikTok, right? Who then I believe, are utilizing TikTok as a power play, very similar to what Bkchat are doing in terms of knowing what they're doing. So when they meet someone who doesn't agree with them or can challenge them, before they know it, they fall into the tropes of insulting you. They call you a narcissist. They call you a gaslighter. You men are this. You men are that. You men are this. And they're trying to trigger you to crash out.
Yeah.
Right. So they can have a moment. When you don't crash out, and this is what I've literally experienced this on numerous occasions. When I say this, and specifically women, by the way, I'm gonna be honest with you, specifically women, I've actually encountered this. Black women too. This is what actually happens when you're in pain. Before I realized it, it's not, the conversation is no longer about the conversation point. They go, oh, I've just gone on your profile. I've just gone on your TikTok profile. Oh, I can see now why you don't make sense, because you got too much muscles for your body. Or then the insults start happening. Even though I've never insulted them, I've never got rude, I've never actually said anything in these situations, right? But then obviously after a while you get a bit smart. I don't know about any of that. What do you know? You get smart. You say, okay, well, listen, you're right. I've got a big head. Now what? Let's continue the conversation. Or you know what? Since you're insulting me, you're no better than I am. So what are we saying? Let's move on. You don't get that. They're trying to have you to crash out in that moment, right? Because so many people are, number one, power trippers. They are hurt. They are broken. It's on both sides. I'm trying to tell you, like, and I always say this, and this is one of the things I will say: give man or a woman power, and I promise you, you'll see how corrupt they are. And a lot of times, the reason why you don't get to see the other side, we don't get to see women being as mad as men, is because they don't have enough power in this world. Give them power, they'll do the exact same we're doing. I promise you, because TikTok will show you that when people are hurt, they do whatever they can. They will mute you, they'll remove you, they'll block you, they will try to they will insult you to try and get you to trip. And that's what happened to him in this moment, right? They're trying to get you to trip. And so when I realized that, okay, this is a cash run. You get more followers when a man crashes out to prove your point that you're crashing out. I said, oh no, it's a game. It's a game. So now I'm just going to be sarcastic when it gets to a certain point. But so this is where Ginge has to learn too, right? That rage baiting is going to be a real thing, but also at the same time, right? What's never going to come out of me is saying, you black women, you black bees. It's not going to, do you know why it's not going to come out of me? Because it's not in me. You know what I'm saying? Now go for it.
If you've watched the shows before, whenever a guy's told him to shut up, she says, no, make me. Not one of them told him to shut up. Because they know the kind of character he is, which is quite interesting. Before in the past, if one of those black men tend to shut up, no, make me. Not one of them said to him, which suggests to me, you know the character of this guy. He's that guy. So I'm saying that. Do you notice that?
I did, because and that's why Lois was telling her to stop. Lois was telling her to stop, but she's also, and I can understand where she's coming from. In her, she says, "Do you know what, Fricka? I don't want anyone telling me to stop." You know what I'm saying to you? But the other ladies, and this is why I said that I wanted the men to get involved, because the other ladies are actually, though they're not saying they're scared, I can see they were scared. Yes, they actually were scared. So this is what I'm saying to you as a man too. I may get scared too. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie to you. I may get scared too. At the end of the day, you feel me? But we're not it's not a shooting range. We're in a conversation. So I will probably end up jumping in like, bro, come on, what you're saying don't make no sense.
But none of the guys
escalate.
Yeah, nobody put their hands on him. Nobody put their hands on him. No one jumped in. But in previous shows, they always quick to jump in. No, calm down. Nobody jumped in. No one put their hands on him because they know the guy. They know his temperament.
And this is where de-escalation skills come in, right? Because look, I've gone raving for time. I've never got into one fight. Because before the fight starts kicking off, I have my way of de-escalating the situation. Do you get what I'm saying to you? I'm joking with the man like, bro, listen, all these muscles ain't even here for fighting, bro. I'm a museum, bro. So before they know, the guy's cracking up, and I'm like, bro, let's chill, let's talk it aside. Do you know what I mean? So for me personally, I'm not trying to escalate a situation. I don't care how strong I am. I don't want to have a fight. It could be your last fight. You know what I'm saying to you? So for me, it's always a case of how do I de-escalate this scenario? None of the guys were trying to de-escalate. They just were afraid. And so in that moment, no one's saying anything. He's just having free reign to say whatever he wants to say. And that's why I said it's a scary place to be, because if the women on the other side are like, if the man are not saying anything and getting on him, blood, it's not going to be any safer for them, because he's on a tiffy on one right now. Do you get what I'm saying to you? And so in that place, that's why I'm looking at it like that. That's why I said it was scary for the ladies specifically, because if no one's checking him and he can stand up, he can then start moving forward a little bit. At that point, I'm like, oh, hey, where is the security, blood?
Yeah,
yeah. Who's going to stand in that?
So he had to regulate himself. Because you're right, with security, he had to regulate himself. He's faced the women, he's faced the crowd. None of the guys got up. So he's had to learn to regulate himself and take himself off the show. So you got to give him credit for that. Because remember, he was highly frustrated. Yeah. But he was able to regulate himself. So you know what? I don't need this. And all you heard from him is, oh, don't go off the show, man. What you do? Really? Is that the best you can do?
Yeah, that was trash by the man there. The man I'm saying, obviously, don't leave now. Nonsense. When he's crashing out, the way he's crashing out, it's crazy, blood. Yeah. And it's not helping the scenario. And again, they're not de-escalating it. I was expecting old boy next to him to kind of make some jokes to make it a bit more calmer. None of the jokes are coming out from this day. Uncle Ruffle, whatever his name is. He didn't. No jokes were coming from him. I'm like, bro, this is the time to make the jokes so we can calm his ass down, so we can actually do it. Or even again, and that's why I said the show itself. There should have been some people from the actual show itself to like, let's take a break. They've done that in previous seasons. Let's take a break because getting a bit high. But because they also on those shows had, for instance, maybe there was Lucas, there was thingy where there was other people that would say, listen, all right, chill it. There was other people that would say chill it, but in this one there was no one say chill it, maybe because the kind of man he is. Yes, he's been to prison.
Yes, I believe so.
For violent crimes. Let's be honest now. Violent crimes. He's not a fraudster. Highly violent crimes, grenades and stuff. At that point, you are thinking about your life. But that's what I'm saying. The show has a due diligence. Number one, he should never been invited. Then, if we know that he can potentially lose it, because I've seen some of his rhetoric on these other platforms have not been great either. I'm like, that's where you're doing a disservice to the ladies to make sure that, fam, if it's men against men, it is what it is. You understand? Every man for himself. It's unfair. It's an unfair world, but it's every man for himself at that point. But when we have the ladies in there, I'm a person that, listen, call it patriarchy or not, we're not the same weight here. So it's a much more scary world for you. I didn't like seeing that. I didn't like seeing the ladies having to. I'm seeing Lois having to hold the girl's arm, and as much as she was smiling, you could tell that her face was. You know when you're smiling but you're nervous. Yeah, because although she was teasing him and getting at him, the fact that he now got up and he was getting into her face, it's scary to look at. I can't lie to you.
And the way he told that woman to shut up, it was like, you say another word. You mean
on?
He said, yeah, and none of the guys checked him.
I think because they wanted to say the same thing. Again, it would have been an issue if it had just stayed there. Do you get what I'm saying to you? It would have been because they've all told each other to shut up before. It would have been one of those things, but because it then goes later on to where it went to, that's why it's scary on that point. It's like, okay, no, it's not just a shut up now. Now we got, like you said, you got to bring all of it together and look at it differently. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So thank God he did regulate himself to get himself out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because this could have gone so much wrong.
I mean, we've all been in situations where one of our friends has lost it. And you know, if you put your hands on him, now he's going to focus on you. You know, I think the guys realized if I try to intervene here, he's going to focus on me, and they didn't want that smoke. I think that's what really took place, because not one of them tried to de-escalate it, told them to pipe down or nothing. You know, and this guy, apart from that, he's a funny guy. He's a funny guy. You see him on Pen Game and think he's a funny guy. Now this, I think people are look at this, judge him with his past criminal record, think, oh, he's a violent guy. He's not a violent guy. He's had a violent past. He's rehabilitating himself, but he just had a bad moment. I just think he just had a bad moment. You know? But we see where it is. You know, we see where it is.
Well, I mean, if I'm Bkchat, we don't invite him back again. You can't be a part of the conversations. No, bro, you can't invite him back again. You're not part of the conversations. If anybody knows my history on YouTube, like before Precious Life, listen, we had someone on the panel before. If you ask any of the old people that were here, listen, a girl came through and she was saying absolute the most wildest things. I kicked her off the panel and never brought her back again.
Wow.
Because there are some levels that when people go to, you cannot give them room to, like, you know what I'm saying to you? Like when we have these panels, people can have a moment. People have crashed out. We've said some stuff, people got angry. But there's a level where someone gets to, you go, no, you can't be a part of the group no more. You know what I mean? If you want to rehabilitate, you can rehabilitate outside. You know what I'm saying to you? No offense. But I can't be responsible for who I'm bringing onto a platform, and then you are doing whatever you're doing, and I don't hold you accountable and allow other people to. No. I'm sorry, you've got to be outside. So for me, if I'm Bkchat and I'm looking at it and going, we can't invite this guy again. We don't invite him back again.
No, I disagree with you there, because other guys who have lost, like King Richards, China, and it's nearly come to blows, back on the show.
The blows with who though?
Each other.
That's the point. With other men, and that's not a problem. With other men, it's never a problem because there is, call it patriarchy, call it whatever you want to call it. As men, we're like, you know what? If you're gonna have that beef with other men, we hear it because it's other men. You know what I mean? My issue is that he didn't do this with other men. If he had done this with other men, it would have been like, all right, man's moving irate, man's moving mad. He's doing what he's doing, innit? But other men are in the room, innit? You get me? But when you're then moving with when you're doing it with other women, we know, as a man, there is a power dynamic between you and that woman. And I get it. Listen, don't get twisted. There is nothing pleasant about being insulted by a lady. I'm gonna be honest with you. And she knew how to press that button. That's one thing about women that are very clever. They're so amazing at doing. They know what button to press you right underneath the armor in that little hole where there's a little bit of a gap, and they're gonna wedge their finger with a nail in, and they're gonna dig it in deep. Yeah, they know how to do that very, very well. And that's their skill. But at that same time, it's also scary when you're reacting in that way and you get to that point where you physically have to move. If you've been cussing her from the chair and cussed her from the chair where he was, would have been like, he's cussing her from the chair, innit? But he then stood up. He then had to remonstrate. He then had to get closer. All these movements are looking at him aggressive, bro. Like, we can't trust that you're not going to go over to the other side and do something. That's why
you know what? To his credit, not that I'm trying to be a lawyer, even when he was crashing out, even when he's crashing out behind the scenes, you could hear him say, listen, you know how this is going to end up? He's going to call man them, they're going to have beef, da, da, da. So he knows how it plays out. Yet he was still able to regulate himself. You see what I'm saying? That because he knows if he puts his hand on someone, you call man them, I do a man them, we got beef. I think he understands how that plays out. So you got to give him credit.
No,
he's not a silly guy. I just think he just got caught out in the moment.
He's not silly, but that's the problem. Yeah. If you're not silly, then you can't do what you just did. That's the problem. You're not silly, and I agree that he's not silly, and that's why you're going to be held accountable, right? Because at that moment, right, in that space, whilst I agree, he did get himself out of there. He made sure he knew when he's getting triggered. One thing I have to respect, he did know he was getting triggered. He told him, "I'm getting triggered." You know what I mean? So I'm already getting myself ready to get out of it, which is fair. You know what I mean? And so I'm not gonna. I can say that I agree with that part. We want to give him credit for. What I would say is that in the multitude of words, there is sin. Sometimes when the multitude of what you're saying, it can become it becomes a very dangerous place to be when the multitude of words are coming out, and then you're standing up, and then you're kind of inching closer. You know, you might not do anything, but let's be honest. If a man gets up from his seat and starts inching towards a man, that's fighting behavior for man them, right? So look, like even looking at a man too long, eyeball to eyeball, is fighting behavior. So we know, so the fact that he did that, we know the code. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Which is why I think Lois was trying. Which is why I was saying that, and this is where I think that's what I was saying about where Lois was trying to save the girl from as well. Lois was trying to tell the girl, listen, babe, this isn't like the other man them. That's what, and that's why I have to be fair to, you know what I mean? Lois was trying to tell her, like, this isn't, and we've all have seen this kind of thing before, where there's like I said, there are man them and there are man them. There are some man them that have a code that they don't care if you're a man or a woman. And that's what I was saying. I'm looking at Ginge, and I was getting scared. I was like, he looks like he's a man them that don't have a code for the ladies. And at that point, you should be fearful, because it looks like he's willing to go over that line. And so I think that's where I'm saying, like, Lois was clocking it, like, babe, stop now, because this is not like China. This is not like King Richard's. These men have a code of ethics that at least they're going to cuss you out. They're going to say some mad things, but they're not going to cross that line and get into your face and fight you. This man looks like he will. And at that point, I disagree. You know why? I disagree, because I've heard him on another podcast say, listen, he's been taught by his mum that don't put your hand on a woman, that's starting in her face. Right. Penny man been told that. And he wouldn't have put his hand on those girls. He wouldn't have put his hand. I believe he wouldn't put his hand on the girls. He's not that guy. But he would have put them in a situation where he said, you know what? Call who you want to call. I'm here. He's that guy. That's still scary.
He's that guy.
And that's still scary.
You see? Because
so he may not put hands.
Yeah. No, he won't put hands on women. He won't put. But he's thinking, no man can talk to me like this. How dare you? Shut up. You know, we did that kind of energy. You see now?
I agree that. I hear you.
Because if you've seen Bkchat shows before when they told man to shut up, now make me, even the women, shit, make me. Not one of the girls gave it back to him. I thought, rah, so you know who to give it to. You know what I mean?
Of course, of course.
Yeah. And not one of the guys told him to shut up or to calm down. I'm like, rah, so you've got a rough one this time. You see now? Yeah, I've seen them wind up, broke up fighting, I think, yeah, whatever. But this guy, not one of the guys stopped him, not one of the girls pushed him over that line. But yeah, they know. They know.
Because
and even when he was winding out behind the studios, nobody was able to calm him down. He had to regulate himself.
I mean, listen, I mean, it's probably because none of them really had a relationship with him, right? Apart from China, but the girls didn't have a relationship with him. In other seasons, like I said, they've had time to get to know Kit Richards. They've had time to get to know China, them and there, right? So that, I think this is only, I think it might be the only episode he's on, right? It's not, I don't think he's, is he on another episode? I don't think he's on another episodes. I think he's just, I think, was he meant to just be a special guest or not? I don't know. And if maybe he has been there for a while, right? But maybe none of them have the right relationship with him, because we saw that on previous seasons beforehand with the Lucas, with the Mark Cuban, all them kind of people there, they had a relationship with the girls. So there was always one or two girls that was loud enough to be able to say, hey, calm it down, and the man might listen. But in this situation, it looks like nobody has a relationship with this guy. So no one can be a buffer to be like, all right, chill it down, There is nobody. And that's why I'm saying it's scary, because in that particular place, right? In that particular place, that man, is now a dangerous person, because we don't know the extent of what you can go to. You know what I'm saying to you? So that's what I'm saying. Like, even though let's say we don't, I don't know 100% if he would have or not. We don't know if he would have put hands on them or not.
No,
but
he would have. No, I don't think he would have.
But the fact that he might be the type of guy that can put a woman into a corner and scare, bro, you're still scary. It's that simple. Like if my sister is in that situation, if my sister's in a situation, right? And if another man's on the same thing that he's on, is another man going to stand for that nonsense? Is another man going to be like, oh no, he just put her in the corner? No, another man's banging him in his face straight away. There is no time to have a conversation. If you're going to corner a woman into a corner that she's scared, another man who's on that same time that you're on, he's not asking questions about whether you're trying to do it just to make sure she respects you. He's banging you in your face, which is that's what I'm saying to you, why it becomes scary, because you're intimidating a person knowing you're doing what you're doing. Yeah,
but Kojo, you've also seen those women on shows where they have a relationship with other guys being extremely rude to them. Extremely rude. Yeah. So I don't think it's a fact that they didn't have a relationship. I think it's a case of they measured and said, you know what? Okay, now I need to pipe down, because this guy, I don't know him, and I don't want to be in a situation where he put me in a situation where it could be embarrassing on camera. Yeah. Because usually before that stage, they cut or security jumped in. Nobody jumped in. And I'm like, you know what? You know you got a real one here. You know you got and some of them may have known his previous form. Gab was asking what's his record, and when the girl said, no, not in front of the camera, which tells me you know. You know. Yeah. So if you know, why press the guy's buttons? You know, I'm not sure behavior.
To be fair, there was only one person pressing the button. To be fair, it was only well, Cookie didn't even really do that much either today. So she didn't even do that much to him. He was triggered by Cookie, and he's triggered. And the thing is, here's the biggest issue with him. He's triggered by anybody that's not going to respond to his respect, and that's a problem.
Yes,
because in that spec, like I said, this is not. They didn't come out the gate disrespecting you. They actually had you had them on side. Yeah, they were clapping for you. Yeah, so you had them on side. So so the issue in effect, you had them on side. The problem is that when anybody then disagreed with you, then you've shown us who you are. Like when the woman disagreed with you and said, no, we don't agree with you, and then I don't like this. Now they also, like I said, the term you don't like, you hate women, black women, it's a trigger term, and I don't like those terms either, because a lot of times they can be used as weapons. It's a bit like saying when men are gay and we don't know if they're actually gay or not. Like, it's trigger terms, right? Women use these kind of things to trigger people, and so I understand that perspective. But the problem is, it's like the problem is also is that why I feel like there's a dangerous deeper root with him is that he did not limit it to just that girl that was insulting him. The other girls never got involved. They left it to it, and it was just that one girl. But then, before he knew it, he's insulting all of the black women. That's why I think you're dangerous, because you got to a point where then the other girl who's quiet and didn't say anything, wasn't being rude on the mic, who's in the audience asking you a question. Okay, she said, hey, she asked him a question. Hey, can you allow me to finish my point then? Because you're saying that by your own rules, can you allow me to finish my point? And instead of adhering to his own rules, he then goes, I don't give a heck what you got to say anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now you are scary, because now, bro, at this point, people who didn't even trigger you are now getting the brunt of your energy. Yeah, you're scary. You are scary. So I'm not saying that he can't get some positives from this situation. The fact that he took himself out of the situation, the fact that he went out the room, the fact that he never actually went over to the full side of the ladies. I'll give him credit for that. But that doesn't take away the fact that you are now scary. You know what I'm saying to you? You're still scary. It's a bit like that. There's films where you watch a film where the guy was about to kill someone, and then he ends up not going through it. Yeah, look, we appreciate the fact you didn't kill the person, but it's too late. You are scary.
No, Kojo,
you know what I mean?
We're entering Karen territory now. We're not doing that, man. Come on, man.
No, you're still scary. No, you're still scary.
Come on,
bro.
Man.
Are you telling me that you wouldn't be shook off a man? That man was about to end somebody's life, but then goes, "My bad. You know what? I just had a change of mind. I know I shouldn't have done this." You're still gonna be shook on the man. The man
he didn't threaten anybody's life. It was just his aura.
I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he did, but I'm saying to you, the intimidation that he put on that, right, is a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying to you? That's a problem. If you're then in that state of anger and frustration, so angrily, get up. Like I can't compare him to being in a situation where your corporate world, where TJ, maybe you're in a corporate world and you go and have a meeting with a white lady and you're just sitting there and she says, "Oh, I think you're being aggressive." You can't compare that to what he did. Right now, if you got up and you stood up and you went into the face of your boss and then started saying things, we're gonna call you aggressive. Absolutely, you're scary at that point. But there's a difference between that and you just like sitting there and then being called aggressive. That's completely different. In this scenario, he did make actions, and unfortunately, those actions were to stand up and still be angry, stand in the middle, remonstrating from where he was, and doing that to the ladies. Yeah, you scary. And then you told someone to shut up and move, keep quiet. Yeah, at that point, you are scary. Yeah, we have to be fair. He's scary. I'm sorry. Would you trust him with your sister?
Well, what I would say to my sister is, don't put yourself in that position, because there's certain men who don't understand that they can't regulate themselves.
Wait. Even if you would, so wait, hold on now. Would you be okay? Would you put your sister in a situation with me?
You seem calm.
Would you feel confident?
Yeah.
Would you feel confident?
But
I'm not gonna wild out.
You're not capable of doing that just because you appear calm and measured.
You're right. But you'd feel more comfortable with me, right?
On the surface, yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't shown anything as of yet. Now, of course, it may be that I may be one of those people. We don't know. But if you've seen how we're debating and had arguments, I've never got to that point where I'm now like, then you're not going to feel no way about it. You're going to be like, all right, cool. He'll have an argument with you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You keep improving. Now, the question is, could you be comfortable with could you be comfortable with your sister with that man? I don't think any of us can be comfortable. I'd be itching like a crackhead going, brother, I don't know. This might be a situation.
And also, you know what? Let me say another thing as well. When 3119, when he told the woman to shut up, yeah.
She was
China
like,
says, you know what China says? Would you tell your Asian? Would you tell China? Would you tell your Asian?
And what did he say?
Yes, he would.
He said he would, and that's what I said. Oh no, and that's what I said at that point. Yeah, he's
see what
he's
they
a
say him
madman.
up. See what they say him up. Madman, you know. Madman, you know.
That's what I said. He's a madman. Straight up madman. He said he was saying to go.
Yeah, and at 36:53, when China was talking, he called it. He goes, "That's why I don't like these, because the way they end up, you have to choose." So you're hearing that, as a man who's in a similar situation. But he's not skilled enough to say, you know what? Okay, boom. He will not find himself in this situation again. Guaranteed. Ginger Joe will not be put in this situation again. Yeah. China has lost it. He's had a viral moment over something similar like this. We completely lost it. They're threatening violence. So he's learned.
But China, I don't know. I think his situation though was not with the girls, right? It was with the lads. King Richards, right?
Richards.
Which is
different. Came to blows.
Again. Exactly, and you know what? Other man can always respect the fact that you come to blows with a man. If it comes to that, at least if you're not somebody who's like it's not like China is like telling man to basically like dominating the whole panel and saying to everybody, "Listen, I'll bang you in your face." It's not one of those situations. I got irate, you got irate. I told you shut up, you told me to shut up. Now we're going to blows. That's different. Every man can respect that because that's not a scary world.
It was one. You're right. It was one man telling a man to shut up. No, who did to shut up? Yeah, that's how it started. But in this situation, nobody told him to shut up. Why is that? Because real knows real.
No. You, and I agree with you. Yeah, when you recognize that a man is willing to go to any length to do some damage, that's why I said he's scary. Because of course nobody want to say nothing because we're scared. You know what I'm saying to you? Like you gotta be careful in America because Trump is out here. You never know. He gonna ice you out. You don't know, bro. You're gonna be scared. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Like at that point, a man's willing to do that. So for me, it's like I don't have a problem with, like I said, I don't have a problem with China and King Richards because they were going at each other and they were doing their thing. You get me? But when it comes to the ladies, I just think that in that situation, we have to be different in that space. And I think you're scary because I think to myself, like, if you had a daughter, would you be okay with her in that scenario? No, because you'd be the first person telling that person, allow it. We would be the first person saying to, it's like when we see a man that is just cheating with different girls, bro. We'd warn that girl. And of course, it's up to you, but I'm saying we'd warn you, like, hey, that man, he's not about being faithful. He's about playing girls, lying to them. We'd warn that girl. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't trust that that man will be a sensible man. So my thing is, like, in this scenario, is that I just wish that obviously that the man collectively just like, even if you just say something to him, because me personally, I would have said something. You know what I'm saying to you? I thought that's why
what you said to him? What would you said to him?
I'd have told him straight, like, the way you're getting vexed about the situation, you're your own orchestra of your own downfall. I'd have called him out earlier than that. You know what I'm saying? I'd have called him out earlier than this because there was contradiction.
In that moment, you know what you'd have done? You'd have embarrassed him, and he would have switched on you.
He might have done, but then for me, I'd rather that you're switching on me than in this scenario that you're actually doing what you're doing. Because once I see you about, like, before this, he hasn't got up yet. So at this point, we probably would have been at juxtaposition already, because and in fact, it probably would have never even got to the point with the girls, because it would have been me telling him, bro, I don't agree with what you're saying. You don't make sense. You just told us that you think that black women are you don't want to date them, but you're contradicting your point. So it would have been before we got to there, it would have been me and him probably going at it already. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. But remember the mentality of certain man. Now you're trying to embarrass him in front of other people. You got to be careful how you handle it. I would have probably, in terms of this escalated, brother, you know what? You said your thing. Don't believe it, man. You don't understand. Allow it. You don't have to explain yourself anymore. That's how he dealt with it. But if I challenge him or try and make him look like he doesn't know what he's talking on the show, now his energy is direct towards me, like, oh, you're trying to embarrass man on camera. You got to think of the mentality of some of these men. You see,
I understand, but I also understand context, right? If I'm out in the fields, it's a different conversation. At that point, I'm trying to calm you down. Now I'm going to switch my agenda to, because this is not a conversation. This is we're out in the fields. You know what I mean? Like, if we're in a club or whatever, we're out in the fields. At that point, you may want to go to the fight. Now, in this context, I'm like, you may want to go to a fight, but the context of the scenario is it's a conversation. So for me personally, I'm trying to go to you, bro. Listen, what you're saying don't make sense, bro. And I'm trying to walk. I'm saying, if you want to walk with me, and I'll break it into what you're trying to say. You know what I'm saying to you? At the end of the day, because this doesn't make no sense. You feel me? So if man wants to get into a fight, of course I'm gonna be able to de-escalate. I'm gonna be like, bro, why are we in a fight over this situation? You said what you said. I've said what I've said. This doesn't make no sense. You know what I'm saying?
Because remember, there was a time when he goes, yeah, I like veggie patties and what, and blah, blah, yeah. So he actually tried to make joke of the whole thing and kill it, right? There was a time when he tried to do that, yeah? Dig in. And none of the boys just said, allow it, man. Allow it. Ignore them. That's what they should have done. But he thought, like, no, I need to justify to these girls to not listen to me. And that's where he went wrong. Because the moment someone says, I don't care, you just disengage. You don't give me your time anymore. Because they're showing you who you are. They don't care what you have to say after that. Just engage. You know,
I would have, and also before it got to that point, right, which is around on a 40-minute mark. Sorry, Precious, I'll let you go into it. It was around on a 40-minute mark, right? Let me just even play the clip, right? Because let me show you where. Because again, I would have intervened long before this. Because again, the kind of conversation I like to have intellectual conversation. So if you making points that don't make sense, I'm gonna have to say something. You get me? So I think there's a point here. I think when he's talking, right,
it wasn't been known. It hasn't been known.
I only ask because a lot of times it is known that Asian people do have a stigma towards black people.
Yeah, definitely. And
how would that transcend? So
I don't know the conversations that was had over there, but the
sounds like you're an anomaly, which is nice.
My thing was the prison thing, because I didn't go to prison for anything like I was a serious thing. So for anybody to consider me into their family, that has to be considered. And because I understand that could be a problem for any culture, because it was a bad thing. So that's the only difference that we've had culturally. Because if I was with a black woman, my prison sentence, I would have got celebrated at the barbecue. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
please don't say that. Not in my family. Maybe in your family, it's acceptable to go to prison. But in my family, even just getting arrested and getting NFA is inappropriate. Please make it clear. It's your family that thinks it's normal. My family doesn't think it's normal. Thank you.
I can't handle this. What did you go prison for?
Huh?
What did you go prison for? I can't handle. It's too much. What did you go prison for?
Gab's not on camera.
Yeah, like
outside of the.
Okay, sorry. Hi, Joel.
First of all, the ladies were even trying to save him. But anyway.
Hey everyone. So my question is for Ginger J again. I have two questions. My first question is the things that kept happening with the black women. What made you think it was a race thing?
I didn't.
But you now
see at that point.
Date outside your race.
This is what it's gonna get to.
Or did I get that wrong?
Not just because of that.
Okay, so what is it then?
Just a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Attitude. I love.
Yeah,
I
it
love.
sounds like you hate black women.
I love.
I'm sorry.
I hate black women.
Yeah, it sounds
Did
not
it sound
that
like
you
I hate my mum.
Not that you hate black
Do
women.
we have time to go in?
See at this point where it's getting to a point, right? This is what I'm saying to you. At the point, at this point in the conversation, me personally would have been like, bro, you are proving the girl's point. Yeah. So this is what I'm saying to you. The girls wouldn't have had an opportunity to get this because it would have been me saying to you, you are proving their point and you're not winning this thing. Because right now you're telling me that it's not a black thing, it's not a black race thing. I say just contradict yourself. So they wouldn't have had the chance to get to the girls because it would have been me telling you this doesn't make sense. What you're telling me, I've been following you for the last 40 minutes in this conversation or however long it's been because it's probably longer than that. And I wanted to see your point, but bro, at this point it doesn't even make sense. You're telling us it's not a black thing, but it's a black thing. It's a black thing, bro. So you know what I mean?
And also, Kojo, you know what? There's something that we've overlooked there. He said that if that was a black family, his prison sentence would have been celebrated. So that means A, you don't rape black women. And then when he's number two goes, no, I hate black women. You said two very triggering things about black women. You're not going to get away with that on the show like that. They're going to respond. You know what I'm saying now? So what you're trying to say is black women, if I've got a criminal record, it's cool. In fact, my criminal record is so heavy, you'd rape me for it. Yeah, it's implied, isn't it? It's implied, isn't it? Yeah,
yes.
That's why I always say not where I come from. And then I've been thinking, yeah, I hate black women. Very powerful, emotive language. Not my preference is not black women. It's now gone to I hate black women. Right on a show like that, yab you up.
But I don't think he was saying I hate black women. I think he was repeating what that woman said. Because if you look at it, that woman was like, okay, so right now it feels like you hate black women. And he kept saying it kind of like, is that really what you're trying to say that I'm saying? Kind of thing. But I think the reality is, because I know we've been talking about this a while, the reality is when somebody has to explain the way they think, two things happen. Either it makes sense or it don't make sense. And that's what happens. When you are forced to explain something that you haven't had to be forced to explain, either people are going to roll with you or they're going to see the contradiction. They're going to see where you are falling short and where your trauma is coming in. And so, and you know, and kind of going back to what you're saying about, as I said before when I first joined, I was like, look, part of me understands why the men didn't jump in, because he clearly appears to be quite a bit of a powder keg. And when men are together, there is always a risk of things becoming very violent when there is emotions swirling, right? But at the end of the day, going back to also what Kojo said, this is not like they were in a club or they were on the street. They were in a place, they were on a Bkchat London set. So there's a point in which you should be able to step in here and be able to say, look, this is not supposed to be happening. Clearly there was an agenda to not do that, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't have happened and it couldn't have been done safely, or that comedy or humor couldn't have been done to disarm the situation. Because even when he was going crazy in backstage, he was trying to use humor to continue to keep the situation live, because some of the guys were laughing at some of the jokes that he was making, but it wasn't that he was trying to diffuse the situation. He was trying to twist the knife to make it more uncomfortable for the women that he was talking about in that backstage video.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that? Because
he was doing it through anger. He wasn't trying to diffuse the situation. He wasn't making those jokes, and those jokes weren't favorable to the black women he was talking about. They were even more insults. At no point in the situation did Ginger J say anything that was nice to black women at any point. So that's what I'm saying, is that there was no situation here where he's like, oh, I'm saying things that I love about black women. At least from what I gathered from the videos, I didn't hear him say, oh, I love this about black women. I think this is
he made some sexual references towards black women.
That's not positive. I'm
Well,
so
that's, in his eyes, that's how he
I
saw
don't
it.
care what's in his eyes. Me not care. Okay? Me care about what is in his eyes. That is not positive.
Man, we're talking
Okay?
about backers. He's
That's
rating
his
them.
business. That's his business. What I'm saying is that he didn't say anything that was truly like of quality when it comes to what Black women represent. And as I said, we're all different. There's good, there's bad, there's the ugly. I get it. But when you're focusing on the bad and the ugly, you're gonna get pushback. You're going to get pushback. That's just what it is. This is what it is. No matter what community you're in, if you're only focused on the bad and the ugly, you're going to get pushback. And I didn't see him at any point saying anything substantial about Black women that could be like, okay, you know what? He can see some good things, or he can whatever. It was purely, this is how I feel. It was purely vitriol for whatever reason it was for. That's what it was. And you know, we can say he can go and fix things and heal, and I think he should. But let's call a spade a spade. It was vitriolic, and it wasn't nice. And you can say all you want about Batty and this and that, but it wasn't nice, and it wasn't good.
Is it vitriol when you're asking about his own personal experience? He can only comment on that.
The vitriol is a response. At the end of the day, this is what Kojo has said. You can be in a position where people are trying to poke and prod at you. How you respond is down to you. At that point, whatever people are trying to do to provoke you is out the window. It's done now. Your response is there. And as Black people, we know that because we are victim of that. We are victim of that every day, where we're getting poked and prodded, but it's our response that matters. So that's what I'm saying is, I get it. He was provoked. It was pushed. I understand. But again, that is the context of where you were at. So we can't even sit there and blame Bkchat too tough, because that is their context. It's not like he went on Barbara Waters and was then poked. Like, let's be real. He was on a platform where that's what they do. So
let me respond. Let me respond to one of those.
Hold on. Let land.
Okay,
I will finish. I'm just saying, if you're gonna then respond that way, your response is then down to you. You take accountability for that. And the response was vitriolic.
Okay. So when they asked him, so what? About the qualities of the woman he's currently with and how they differ to those of a Black woman, and he says, well, I've had Black women. They've been there. They were there for me, but they all let me down, all done me dirty. Yeah, he's not saying Black women don't have those qualities. He's saying they do, but they all end up the same way, and that's his preference. And even said, if I choose a different lane, I'm winning. Why should I change? Is he not entitled to say that?
Yeah, but that's fine. But when we get to the point then, while you're telling women take off your wigs, do all of this, that is vitriolic.
No, I can't defend that.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about him saying, you know, I've been done dirty by Black women. We've all said here, we know that this is coming out of experience, and that is completely fine. That's your experience. But again, it is also your responsibility to work through that experience, so that when it comes to these situations, you're not acting out of vitriol and you're not acting out of pain and hurt. That's the only point we're making, because that's where it led. That's where it went, because that's what you were feeling.
And just one other point as well. I find it's quite interesting that when it's a generalization, when men become vulnerable in front of women, it's often used against them. So, for example, he was being very vulnerable in terms of, this is my experience with women. I have done this, but they've all done this to me. And their response is, what have you done? Why is it you? Not trying to understand that maybe it's the woman you're picking. It was like, what have you done? Understand the man sharing a vulnerable moment with you, man.
Definitely, but that was not the right audience. The right audience for that was people who knew him, who care about him, who love him, or a psychologist or a therapist. That's not the right audience. If I had a friend and he was telling me all these things, that's the right audience, because I can sit with him, we can have a conversation where I can be open and honest, but also be a soundboard for him to express how he's feeling and show empathy and to show compassion. Bkchat London is not the space in which you're going to get compassion and empathy.
He didn't do his due diligence.
It's not going to happen. That's why I'm saying I'm not going to use what happened with him in that situation as a blanket statement to say women are not sensitive to men's pain, because the reality of the situation is that is not the environment for you to then start unpacking years of trauma, relational trauma. It's not. And when you do it there, it's going to backfire, whether you're a man or a woman, because there's been many times where women have been vulnerable on that platform and they've gotten it shoved back in their face too. So that's why I'm not going to use that as a blanket statement to say women don't care about men's feelings. That's not true. That's just not true.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to say to that situation.
Yes, Jeff. Jeff, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, wait, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, teacher. Yeah, I thought you were gonna jump off the cliff of what you're trying to do. Like, it seemed like you're trying to give man grace. Thing is, he said what he said. He said what he said. You saw his apology. Yeah, he said what he said. He apologized for how he behaved. He doesn't apologize for his experience. Calm.
Yeah.
He's saying that black women, that there's not one point is there accountability for even his retelling of events. The black woman I chose. The black woman I chose. The black woman I chose to deal with. The black woman that I was involved in. None of that was there. It was making it seem as if the moment he makes a generalization. So if he's going to make a generalization about black women in general, he got to eat that. He got to eat that. He can't now expect sympathy or grace given to him. If you're speaking in a vitriolic manner, you're now trying to use jokey. Even then, it was not joke. It was not a joke when he was now talking about, like, change your hair, this and that. Like, you're trying to put women in their place. That's what he was trying to do at that moment when he got
by that stage,
upset.
he'd lost it. The red mist had come down. By that time, red mist had come down.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is, he wasn't because he was triggered, because the women on the platform were not really listening to him, because one, he did not articulate himself correctly, and even then, he deliberately chose the words that he chose for a reason, because he's living in his trauma, and you're expecting a high pressure environment like Bkchat to come save you. Like, he wants to be listened to, but he's not listening to them. So it goes both ways. And when I saw the response that he gave, it let me know that he's not really sorry for what he did. He stands 10 toes down on what it's his pride. So
that's why I said, like, he stands on business, but I think he regrets how he did what he did. He does. No, he give him that. Give him that. You don't think so?
Regret. No. He doesn't regret what he doesn't regret the fact that he's just like it's true. It's true to him based upon the black woman that he chose. That's what I'm saying. I've had bad experiences with the black women that I chose to interact with. I'm not gonna now come up on a platform and say black women are this, black women are that, black women, because I've not dated 100% of every single black woman. That's the point I'm trying to get at. So when he makes that generalization, naturally it's gonna be smoke. It's the equivalent of, okay, how many times when you hear a woman say, "Oh, man, these men are trash," like these men, but the men that you chose are trash.
Yeah.
So anytime, there's nothing wrong with making generalities, but when there's no context and you're not introspective enough to know how you contributed to your own dynamic of relationships, as well as what are the things that you went through in your past that shape your picking of these type of women, and then you now want to make the woman that you chose or the woman who show these traits accountable when you should be accountable for your own decision making, and then you're now coming up.
So he expressed that. He said when he went inside, there are choices that he made, and he couldn't expect those people. No, he said he couldn't expect those women who promised him certain things to live up to it. He felt let down, but then he acknowledges he let people down by doing things which led to him being incarcerated. He has acknowledged that.
That's not being accountable for the women that you pick. Like, put it this way. The reason why that person asked him, okay, yeah, but then what did you do? Because the reality is, if you're picking women that have similar traits, the common denominator is you.
Yeah.
You are the common denominator, not the black women. It's you. You are picking certain traits in these women that you identify with because they're identifying with traits that are within you. Yeah. So it's not about the black woman. It's about what part of you do you need to grow through and progress and heal. That means that you are then going to pick different types of women, and they can still be black women. They can be white women, Indian women, whatever. But if you're going to then say the only difference in the only reason I was able to pick a better woman is because I changed her race, that makes absolutely no sense.
But it does to him. It does to him.
Yeah,
it makes sense to him.
And
But
nobody's
also,
disagreeing with that.
no,
Nobody's disagreeing with that. But the reason why
yeah,
the reason why there was an issue in the first place is because it doesn't make sense to nobody else.
and
If
It
it
also,
doesn't
makes
have to.
if
no,
it
but
made
doesn't
teacher,
have
sense
to.
to every
but
yeah,
teacher,
but now we're talking about two different things. If it
yeah,
made sense to everyone else, there wouldn't have been a situation. We wouldn't have been having this live right now. It's because
exactly,
it doesn't make sense to everyone else.
bro.
Hence why people will start asking questions. And if you then can't handle those questions, these situations happen. I get it. Yes, we want to get into the point where we're saying you don't have to justify your preference. I understand that within theory, but in practicality, that's not what happens on either sides. We all have to justify our choices to somebody. That's the reality of the world. I know people want to act like we're living in in some like new time where we can be ourselves and we don't have to justify choices. That's not how it works. That's not how the world works. We all justify our choices to somebody,
Exactly.
whether we want to or not.
Oh, yeah, teacher.
If you are on a show like Bkchat where people are asking you questions, that is the literal definition of having to justify your choices and your answers. What are we talking about here?
All right, teacher, on the real, listen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you want to say that man doesn't have to justify his choices. Okay, then he's not owed grace. If he doesn't have to justify his choices and his circumstance, like, then he's not owed grace, especially on a virtual platform like Bkchat. And if he wants to talk about, the black woman, black woman is, bruv, we both know that you will find, like, color is not synonymous here with behavior. You're gonna find behavior, bad behavior, good behavior, no matter what race you deal with. All right, white man get into it with black and white girl. Asian man get it with Asian girl. It's the same thing. It just so happens that for the black woman that he chose, that's the thing. He's not saying it in his language. This whole smoke, if you just said, you know what, the black woman that I chose to deal with, the one that I was dealing with because of what he did not do his own diligence to say, oh, look, this is why I got into these type of relationships. Oh, bro, this is what I was looking for in this type of relationship. None of that. You're putting so much responsibility upon the woman that you chose to interact with. Then you want to come out of your tooth on your neck and I'll say, oh, black woman, you guys, this, like, you need to change your head. He's doing a whole bunch of deflecting, And then when now he's dealing with the backlash of his own decision making, he's standing 10 toes down. Nobody's expecting him to apologize. Your experience is your experience. But be responsible about when you talk about your experience and don't make stupid generalizations, in your own language. That is all.
Let me respond to that. Let me respond. There was a time where someone said, so what do you think you've done that these women are all behaving a certain way? You're the common denominator. And he said, you know what? Maybe I could live up to the expectations as me as a king. Is that not acknowledging? Yeah? He said
no, it's not.
No,
hold on.
No, it's not because it's still placing blame on them. What are we talking about here? I'm sorry. Wait. No, stop. What are we doing here?
Listen, no. If my man can come out, if my man can come out and start talking about, like, here's the thing, his own behavior lets me know, this is one of the reasons why probably your relationships with black women that you chose into, it didn't go so well. Because if you can get this disrespectful and it takes you going to a whole nother race to find somebody else, bruv, you think you're free from listen, if you think that just simply changing your race, think about it. What does it say about him that you now have to change your whole race before you change yourself? What does it say about you?
Let me give you some context. I'm not listen, I don't know the brother. I'm nothing. It's just a little background research I've done. This guy was born in Leeds, raised in Manchester, moved to London, various parts of London, north, east, south, and west, where he eventually resided in Essex, his formative years. And in that part of Essex, Ilford, is predominantly non-black community. I think you can take the demographic I'm talking about. And he was comfortable in those settings. Even though he moved in the hood, he was comfortable in those settings. Now, he's tried sisters. And the sisters he picked, it didn't work out for him. It didn't work out for him. And maybe it could have been a case of, you know what? We don't rate you. We don't respect you, whatever it was. But the outcome was the same. According to him, they cheated on him. So maybe there's an implication of, brother, are you defending it that part? We don't know. But it always ends up the same way. So now he's saying, you know what? Let me switch it up and pick something else. That's working for him. And he got joy from that. Now, once you've explained that to somebody, I'd have to justify it to you.
Yeah, but teacher, though, here's the thing. All you're talking about are character flaws that it can be found in any race. And you want to know how I know my man, he did not help himself. He contradicted himself because one of the panelists asked him, so is it a black thing? No, it's not a black thing. But then you ask him, it is a black thing. So which one is it? Is it a black thing or is it not a black thing?
Man was emotional at this stage because he felt like it's under interrogation. And some of the other guys did say it felt like an interrogation. Let's be clear now. Yeah?
You mean
there was clearly an agenda there to draw him out.
Isn't that Bkchat's MO though? Don't they?
So he didn't do his due diligence. They set him up. I'm not excusing his behavior. His behavior was mad. I can't excuse that behavior. That's why I say he will learn from this.
Bro, how can you be set up when? How can you not do your due diligence to go into Bkchat? Yeah, you know what Bkchat is about. We've been watching Bkchat since time ago.
Brother, he's been out for 18 months. He's been out for 18 months. It's an opportunity to go on a big platform. He doesn't know, does he? He's been away for 10 years. He only came out 18 months ago. And then you got this opportunity to come on a big platform. You're thinking, yeah. They set him up. They knew the kind of counter he was. They knew the triggers to press to draw him out. Come on.
We're having a whole different conversation here.
Having a different conversation.
Look, let's just move on from this whole setting up.
Look,
get it. We have talked this point into the ground. Ground.
He will learn from this. He will learn from this. He will learn from this.
Teacher, if you're going to listen, we all know that when you are talking about any group, when you're making generalizations, number one, be very careful when you're using your quote on anecdotal evidence, as a reason why you justify why you do what you do. Because this is where now you will be labeled a coon, you'll be labeled a sellout, you'll be labeled this because when you're talking, making disparaging remarks about a group of people, when you're now, it's like, bruv, individual experiences, you got to be responsible. Listen, I will tell people about my personal experiences, but I have to be responsible when I actually speak about it. And also, it's really telling when you're now trying to instruct other people, oh, yo, you got to listen to me, you got to do this, you got to do that. You're getting bare emotional about your own personal experience. It shows man's not healed from his trauma. So if his perception of black women is based upon traumatic experiences he's been through, and he's not making objective statements, we can't trust his opinion about what he talks about. We can't trust it. We can't trust it if he's speaking from a place of emotion and not from a place of, genuine reflection. You know what? Nah, the black woman that I entertained, maybe there were things that I was doing in my previous relationships that were not correct. Maybe I was being the one that was disrespectful. Maybe I allowed so much of the things that I went through with my mom, because he did say, and I quote, when it was brought about his mum, you know what? I love my mum, yeah. She was holding it down, but I didn't like it. So if he was emasculated, disrespected by his own mum, and then now feeds his way into the type of woman that he chooses in his relationships, what do you expect?
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Yeah. But even he said, when they called out his mum, he goes, I know she does it, but I don't like it. He said, I don't like that behavior, even in his mother. He called it out.
So then he should have stayed with that, because that was the triggering point. But the moment you now say, black woman like this, black woman like that.
No, that's where he lost it. He lost it. Yeah, he lost it. He lost it completely.
So that's what I'm saying. You got to be accountable. And you want to know how, and listen, man is going to stand 10 toes down. Guys like that are going to stand 10 toes down, be prideful, and then blame the whole world, but he's not going to hold himself accountable. So he's going to make the same mistake over and over again if he don't change up. If he don't change his ways.
You know what it is as well? It's not that. It's the people you surround yourself with. Because if he got on his brother, said, brother, you was moving mad. You can't be talking about that in public. Off camera, fine, if that's your view, but you can't talk that in public, because you're damaging your brand, and B, you're looking like a madman out here with your part.
Even the boys, like, even if you're a stranger, like, think about it, based on optics, but even the boys, China and them lot, they did nothing to hold him like, yo, bro, you gotta chill, man, you gotta chill. They let him make a fool out of himself. And even making a fool out of himself by basically saying, you know what, I stand toes down, I said what I said. So really and truly, he's not going to hold himself accountable. He's not. If he can do this publicly, I can only imagine what he's like privately.
100%. 100%. And he'll have like-minded people around him.
Exactly. Like-minded people enable his behavior as well.
You know? But he also, I'm not going to give him an excuse. You've got to remember, I've seen him on other podcasts saying, what's happened? Back in the day, he told her to shut up. She shut up. All this, see, he hasn't come to grips with the fact that the world has changed since you've been away. You may not like it, but it is the way it is. You can't catch a woman like that. You can't come to shop and she was sharp. It don't go like that. He's having to come to terms with that. You know? Or certain types of women are not going to, I mean, take that sort of behavior, not the women.
If that is his metric of what he considers to be a healthy relationship, you shouldn't be talking. Because even then, if the shoe was on the other foot, I guarantee I saw it. When the shoe was on the other foot, you couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it. He can't handle the same disrespect he's able to dish out. So I'm not gonna have that pass. I'm not gonna have that pass because of what he went through with his own mum, considering the fact that he himself said he didn't like the way his mum spoke towards him. So I'm not gonna let him have that pass just because now, he goes in jail, comes back. No one likes being disrespected. In this situation, what it was, he started the disrespect, so now he can't be the one to get upset when disrespect is thrown back at him.
He didn't have the skill set to deal with it. That's all it is. He will learn from this. He will learn from this. I don't think we should kill him for this, but he will learn from this.
Bro, he killed himself. He killed himself.
Nah, he will learn from it. Everybody makes mistakes. I mean, Kojo, you've seen people that said crush out online. They learn from it, innit? They learn from it, man.
But I don't think that's what the conversation's about, though. Like, it's not about. You already said from the jump that this is what he should do to, figure his stuff out and to navigate this better next time. That part of it we've agreed upon. We're just saying what happened there was wild, and it's born out of wildness, and it shouldn't happen again. The whole but he'll learn from it. Well, I mean, we'll see in it, because right now he's not learning. Right now he's standing 10 toes down. So time will tell. There's no like guarantee that he's gonna learn from this at all. Time will tell whether he does or not.
I can tell you this, because it was such a viral moment, he'll be back on the show.
That's the point.
Yeah,
he will be
back on the show. He's learned nothing.
He'll be back. He'll be back on the show. No, if he was cancelled, but he'll be back on the show because that was a viral moment. That went international.
But no one's saying he's going to be cancelled. That's what we're talking about here. What are we doing? He's going to be back on the show. That does not mean that he's learned anything.
Nah, you use it as an opportunity to basically, make more viral moments, get more status. Like he stand 10 toes down on what he said. And again, you want to know how he doesn't really. He's not really apologetic because man decided to apologize live. He didn't make a video. He didn't make a proper video about it. When the whole situation came out, he apologized on the live. So his apology was not genuine. If you really want,
you can't say that. Maybe he was advised to do it live. You don't know that. You can't say it's not genuine. He went in front of the camera and he apologized. No, we can't do that to him, man. No, we can't do that. He apologized. Whether you accept it is another issue. He apologized in the way he thought was best.
Yeah, he apologized because
wait. Stop. He apologized the way he thought was best. Okay, Kojo, I need you to step in now. Kojo,
This is getting triggered now.
I'm not triggered. I just feel like this conversation is going on in circles, and we need Kojo to put a pin in it now.
No, he didn't apologize properly, man. He didn't attack what he was actually apologizing. He apologized for what he said, but not what. He apologized for the tone and everything as well, but he did not actually apologize for what was actually said. That's the problem. That's actually the bigger issue. No. He apologized for how he sounded, the volume, the tone, but he did not actually apologize for what he actually said, which actually was a bunch of contradictions. He
stands on business, but the way he came across, he apologized for the way he came across. Yeah.
So he apologized for maybe raising his voice, whatever, right? But he stood 10 toes down on what he actually said, which is actually, there is some actual issues behind that. For instance, they caught him in something, right? When they asked him, would you, number one, when they caught him in and saying, okay, he said that black women have an attitude and when they get mad, he don't like that when they get mad, right?
Yeah.
He said about that. And then they asked him, what about your wife? When she gets mad and she speaks in a Gujarati, what is it about? He said, it doesn't matter. She can be mad. So when you have that ideology, that ideology, what you're really saying is black women don't have the space to be able to be mad, but you're someone else who's another race has the opportunity to do so, which also links up with the general wider white supremacists. I want to make it very clear as to why it's a problem. No, I have to. I'm gonna make it because it being an individual thing would be saying like I don't like people being loud to me. You understand what I'm saying to you? I don't like people getting loud to me. If you just said that and left it there, we're fine. The problem is that when they asked him, right, they asked him a straight question, said, hey, is it okay if your wife does this? He then said, I don't mind, which means that now it's not a woman issue. It is a black woman issue that you have that you don't like when and that's why I said that it's dangerous, because any woman that tries to stand up to you that's a black woman, you are going to go and treat them almost like a man. And that's what I was seeing.
Let me respond to that one point.
Hold on, before we get to that point.
Okay.
So the reason why I'm saying that is because it links up overall to general white supremacist terms of how they dealt with us, right? And the ideology that gets pushed out there oftentimes, right? About how black men are and how black women are. So that's why I'm saying there's a larger issue with his viewpoint to hold such a perspective where it's like, well, like we had the common term of, the Latinos are sexy when they get angry, but the black women they're aggressive. It links it to animalistic terms, as if the woman is just a beast almost when she gets angry. And the reality situation is that is a racial aspect of a racial ideology, right? Where you've been indoctrinated to think that. Now, whether his pain or whatever in the past happens, we can talk about that. But the reality of the situation is he has wider issues than just, I don't date black women. It's deeply rooted. And that comment, that alone exposed it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying to you. Yes, teacher.
Let me respond to that. So when they said, as you quite rightly pointed out, so when your girlfriend speaks to you in Gujarati or Punjabi, do you not think that was a racial slur?
What do you mean?
You don't think it'll come at him on a sly one? You could have just said, so when your woman responds accordingly, but they tried to go in. They tried to go in on him when they said that.
Let's slow down. Let's slow down.
Hold on a minute.
Where was the racial slur, please?
Right. He's really said that the woman's Asian. Yeah. She's of Sikh religion. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And they've said, so when your woman responds to you speaking, what? Why are you going into, you're talking about characteristics. Why are you trying to pick out Asian languages in a point to say like, what, we woman speaks this? No, when you won't respond accordingly, that's what you have to say. No, you're trying to get underneath his skin because he shared with you that his woman is not a black woman. So you've tried to come at him.
That's not a racial slur. That's not a racial slur. Like you can say that, you can say that that's a way to provoke him. I can agree with that. But Howard saying that she speaks to him aggressive or with attitude in a native language of hers, a racial slur.
Okay. Kojo has just said that, when we refer to certain types of women of color, you're referring to them in an animalistic way, you're fetishizing them. I'm saying just because he said the woman's Asian doesn't mean you have to start making fun of her when she talks in a certain language. There's no need for that.
Wait. Do they speak Gujarati?
What's that?
Do Asian people speak Gujarati?
No, well, she just made that assumption. You see now. Okay. The problem.
Okay. So is there history?
She may know where that wife is from.
That's what I was going to say. Is there history, and also is there a history behind linking Gujarati with someone and intentionally misappropriating the person's ethnicity or race? You want to call it that in this aspect?
What I'm saying, there was no place for it. He just says if his wife does it, it's okay. But why you have to? It's like somebody saying to you, "Oh, all you blacks are the same. So we can speak your African language." Huh?
But teacher, do you hear what you just said?
Okay.
That's not what he said, though.
Okay. No, let him have it. Let him have it. There's no point in arguing because it doesn't even make a difference. Because the point is, even if he did say that, right? What was his response?
Doesn't matter.
No, it does because because you shifted the goalpost. That was my point. No, wait, hold on. You shifted my goalpost because that was not the point I made. What was his response?
His response is, she can say whatever she likes because that's the one he chose. So he would take you. Okay. That was my point.
So listen, I'm gonna give it to you and say, let's say they were trying to trip him up. Let's say they'll be even racist. Let's just go for the sake of it, right?
Yeah.
I'll even say I'll give it to you. All right, they'll be racist. Okay. Yeah. Now the key issue we're having is his response. What does it mean? If we know that he can, go on. Mm-hmm.
It means that I don't have to put with the characteristics in black women I find undesirable. See, my woman, she can do what she likes because I chose her. What's wrong with that?
So okay, I love the fact you go into that place, right? Because you know exactly what point I'm trying to make, and you're
I know it.
So the key point is, and I know you play with me, so I understand you're playing a little bit, so I get it. But so that's that key point we're making. So we're making this key point because it's saying like he also is. While he may have felt, let's say he felt all of those things, but in the end, he outed himself. by them making a very clear clear distinction between, okay, if your wife who's not black can say something and somebody who's a black woman can't say something, the assumption by the human being who is, most of us have a certain level of intelligence here, including him, would be able to reason that that comment that you've made is basic. And he knew he was in a trap. That's why he kept on. He just ignored it and went past it. That you're actually saying that black women can't do this to you, but you won't say it's okay if somebody of a different race or ethnicity is allowed to do so. They're doing the same behavior, which means you don't hate when women do it. You hate specifically when black women do it, and that tells us that you have a sore point with black women. So it's a racial issue, number one. Number two, you got some issues with black women. You have to deal with that, and it comes from somewhere, which is why the girls are going straight to the end of saying you hate your mother. Now I don't really like that term, but I'm gonna say, listen, there is some level of pain that you have that is coming from somewhere. I would normally say it's from childhood.
He acknowledged that though, when he said, "Just because my mum does it, I don't like it." He acknowledged that.
I'll tell you why he didn't acknowledge it. I'll tell you why he didn't really acknowledge it. What he said was, I don't like my mum behaving in this particular way, but doesn't actually acknowledge the fact that your actual pain of why you don't like black women is coming from the fact that you have an issue with black women. He's trying to make it as if I don't have an issue with black women.
He does.
But you do.
Well, he said it. He actually said, "I don't." You know what I mean? That's why I don't get it. He actually said it verbatim. He said it. He said it. Yeah,
exactly. At the end, when he had been caught out several times, now he's saying it because at this point he's angry, he's pissed off, he doesn't care anymore. Now he can tell the truth about what his true feelings are, and that's what I'm saying about him. He was hiding behind the falsities. You don't like them, bro. You don't like them, and there's a maybe the word hate is triggering. He has a strong dislike of black women. Right, and when I say that, I mean that I'm gonna say it in a very, how do I say this in a way that I can almost see it in a sense of like, if we're talking about, let's say you're at work on a normal day, does he want to cuss out a black woman? No. On a normal day, he sees a black woman walking down the street, does he want to cuss him out? No. I can see that point of view. I'm not, but it's not there that we're seeing that. We're seeing that when you are in interaction, and let's say, for instance, that black woman then says, "I don't agree with you." Now we're going to see that animosity. It's just like racist people that necessarily on a day-to-day are not going to call you a nigger. They're not going to call you a nigger on a normal day, right? The moment that teacher, you decide that, you know what, I don't agree with what you just said, now the nigger comes out. Raw, so man's a nigger now. Oh yeah, because now you are now challenging him and he feels some type of way. That's why I'm saying he's dangerous, because actually he's not even telling you from the jump, you're a nigger. He's telling you, oh no, I rock with teacher. Teacher's cool. You know, I've got black friends. I've even got a black uncle.
I hear you.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, when you listen to him and the chronology of him being very vulnerable, sharing what he's been through with the black woman that he has selected, also the characteristics of his mother that he doesn't agree with, but he wasn't in a position to do anything about it until he became of age, and he now sees those certain traits in black women that remind him of his mother. I think he has the right to say, you know what, that's why you're disqualified for my choice. I think he has the right to say that. He's not saying he hates black women.
Or he just has the accountability to choose different women and to choose better women. like let's be real. But that's not what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. Is like you're saying, okay, I've chosen these women. They're portraying the same things that my mum has portrayed. So now I'm disqualifying all the women. That's not how it works. What you really should be doing is thinking, why am I picking these women? What is making me choose these specific type of women, and how do I make the changes so that I can choose better in the future? Because the likelihood is that you're going to choose the same type of women regardless of what their race is, but you're just more likely to accept it because they're not from X race.
Or maybe
exactly what his comments showed when he was saying, oh, it's fine with this, because it's easy to accept, because it doesn't feel so close to home. It doesn't trigger you so much because it's not the same. So that's what I'm saying, is that instead of you placing blame externally, look internally and reflect. And that's how you make the real changes.
Okay, let me respond to that, Precious. Good point. Koja, you said at the beginning how when you talked about a bit about your past, how you reached a juncture where you could have gone either way. Yeah, based on your experiences that you had. I believe, and you got to understand in the circles he moved in, He moved in circles, hood scenarios, moved from town to town. Remember, being a countryman coming to London, that comes with its own issues as well. Looking the way you do. I think he's trying to get acceptance from certain types of black women, but they didn't rate him. They just didn't rate him for whatever reason. And even when he went inside, and we don't know the situation, the dynamics of that, they still don't rate him. Because remember, bad man in your form TV is supposed to be cool in certain demographics. They didn't rate him. So now you're thinking, you know what? Bun you. My girl's got my back. She ride or die. That's my queen. And he's saying it with chest. Because whenever he sees those characteristics that he doesn't like in certain types of black women, they remind him to his mother, they trigger him, they trauma him, fine. But I think he had the right to say, you know, I'm not accepting that. But he kept saying, I'm not picking you. As if to say, I'm regaining power here. You've rejected me in the past, so therefore I'm not picking you. He had the right to say that. The way he said it was mad. Yeah. But I still think he has a right to say that. Judging his experience he's been through. That's what I'm saying.
Well, let him have the power then.
Okay. Yeah, power, and also if with the power comes with the consequence. Because here's the thing: if your thought process is because of my bad experiences with black women that I chose, so therefore I need to go to another race to basically, you know, feel a sense of contentment, and I'm gonna allow the very same bad behaviors that I saw the black woman do because you're saying, oh, I can accept it because it's the black woman I chose. Then you've not really changed. All you've just really changed is the skin tone. The behavior is going to be the behavior no matter what. And you're using white supremacist talking points to justify the way that you're moving. Point blank, period. It's got nothing to do with.
Well, I think the white supremacy is a bit harsh because other guys on there were saying they outside their race. And in fact, King Richard said when they tried to play him, he goes, I don't see color. I just see women.
Please.
I just see women.
That's the same. We're not saying.
No. Hold on. He said, I don't see color. I see women. But therefore, you know what? You're small fry. We know what we're going for. They killed him in the past with that one. They thought, no, we don't really. That is why he was back thinking, where's that energy you was giving me?
The white supremacist point applies across the board. The reality is we're not talking about them because they're not the ones that busted up and blew up the spot. So let's just be real. Let's not be doing all this, going in and out and deviating the conversation. The reality is it applies across the board. That's just the case. He can say what he likes, but at the end of the day, the response is going to get actions that are have consequences. So if he wants to redirect his bad picking and trauma somewhere else, and it works for him, blessed be upon you, praise Lord. However, the reality of the situation is everyone else is going to look at the situation, they're going to look at it differently because they're objectively looking at it. You are always going to be subjective to your own experience because your hurt is always going to be how you guide through things. Your experiences is always going to shape your perception, and that's going to shape your reality. Now, whether or not it's shared by others is a different conversation. And so when your reality isn't shared by others, that's where it's going to come to blows, because the black women in that room did not share his reality. The black men could have, but I wouldn't even say all the black men in that room shared this reality, because I think some of the black men in the audience probably didn't agree with him. Exactly. So they're part of the audience. I think the black men in the cast did agree with him. So they let it run. But they also didn't defend him. They also didn't stop the vitriol that came later. So the reality is, however you feel about who you're dating or whatever, that's great. But when you start entering that line of being disrespectful and being insultive to a group of people based on your experience, there's no grace there. We do the same when it comes to racism. We do the same when it comes to sexism. We do the same. There's no grace there. If you're going to then turn it to a disrespectful thing, an insultive thing, I'm not going to give you grace for that. I'm going to tell you, you need to work on yourself. You need to figure some things out. I'm not going to give you grace for it. So whether you were set up, whether you didn't do your due diligence, that's your business, my friend. But
he will learn. He will learn.
Tisha,
at this point, simple as.
Apology. Listen, and I'll go back to the whole apology situation, because it's tantamount to, imagine, you're in a relationship with your girl, she does something messed up, and then after you wanted to apologize, and then she tells you, listen, I'm sorry if that's how you felt. I'm sorry if that's how you felt. That's literally what he did. I'm sorry he's not gonna stand. He's gonna stand 10 toes down on what he believes, even if what he believes is mad. So all this shucking and jiving to try and give him grace, I don't know why we're trying to. When number one, he stands by his thought process of making the generalization out of women, when black women specifically, when the character traits that he's talking about is something that you can find across every single race, culture. You'll find it everywhere. It just so happens that he has now done the dangerous thing that a lot of guys, some in manosphere or red pill spaces, will even do.
Yeah.
Like a collective outlook on 50% of the population, and you're now tying their behavior to skin color at this point. So of course it's going to be linked towards white supremacy, but he wants to justify it. He didn't use the correct language. He's going to change his ways. So why are we even having this conversation? I have no idea.
We're having the conversation because of his outburst and the way it came out, because he went from being quite measured to actually being quite abusive, physically, allegedly, and in terms of the language. That's where he lost the argument. Because after that, you couldn't defend that behavior.
But there was never. But the thing is, the argument, he will never win that. He will never win the argument if he had just simply talked about his personal experience. Again, words do mean something. If he has simply said, "Look, there were particular women that I chose," but he made it a black thing. He made it a race thing. He even admitted that it was black women. So naturally, people are not going to rock with that. Point blank. Period. And it's dangerous because of it. It feeds into the narrative and the negative stereotypes that we as a community are trying so hard to get away from. It's bad enough that we're already stereotyped. Black women already stereotype negative things when we all know, objectively speaking, not every black woman acts like this. But he is making it seem as if black women act like this. That's why he has a right to share his experience, but he also has to be responsible with the words he chooses when talking about it. And he's just not going to do that because he's going to stand 10 toes down, do what he's going to do, and that's it. That is it.
But and also in defense of what you just said, can you see how in his mind the narrative would be, this is the behavior I'm talking about? When he said, look, black behavior, he actually used that term, yeah? Because now you in his eyes, he's seen the behavior that he despises. Whether it's right or wrong, or what led up to it. So he's now justified in being the way he is, which is why I said, he will learn from this, because even if you feel that way, like you said, not all black people behave the same. The questions were loaded in the fact that they were waiting for it because certain people knew information about him that others didn't. The moment he said, "Oh, my woman is Asian, 2155," they were cool with him. In fact, he's actually been quite stoic in terms of we both haven't got kids. We're going to get married and we have kids after get married. Blah blah blah. They're on his side.
But teacher, I can't give you that, because here's the thing: one of the black women actually tried doing the very thing we're doing, tried to give him grace. One of the black women, right, tried to even say, it's not every black woman. And he's like, no, like, I'm done with that. He didn't even want to have a balanced take. He was there to just simply say, you know what, it is what it is. I said what I said. So even the black women that were trying to listen to him, he also threw them under the bus collectively. So we're here trying to make sense of a guy who's trying to tell his experience. He's not here to, like, bro, he said what he said.
No, he did. Because they wanted to, when he told them, listen, there was literally 8 minutes between when he said, my woman is Asian, to tell us about your wife. And he said at 29:30, they cheated on me. So they went to know, what, are you telling me other black women can't do this? He said, they can. And I've been with a black woman and a white woman, but they all cheated on me. So they weren't happy with his answer. They wanted to know the specifics. What does this woman do that we can't find the black woman? They wanted to get that out of him. Yeah? And when he said, okay, they cheated on me, then it was, what'd you do? Then it was, I went to prison. Now they're like, there you go. That's why black women don't want men like you. And it switched.
Well, guys, our time is up. So my time is up, guys. Listen,
guys, I really enjoyed
this. Thank you very much, teacher. I appreciate it. No, listen, it was good to have a little bit of a back and forth, because it means we get to have more conversation and we get to see from different perspectives. So I appreciate you being able to bring the different angle in there as well, because there are other people who have that viewpoint and perspective. So I appreciate you coming up and dialoguing with us as well. Hopefully we get to have more conversation in the future as well. Precious, Jeff, I know Jay was here earlier on. I appreciate y'all. It's time for us to go. I got some
Have a
work to
great
do.
time,
And
guys.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate y'all. Stay blessed. We'll see you again soon.
Take care, guys.
You know what time it is.